Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, back at you with a new video. Today is Monday, September 22nd, 2025, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can. Cash App $ORIONNWSF or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got Monday Night Football, the Detroit Lions versus the Baltimore Ravens. Kickoff is going to be here in roughly 5 minutes. So let's cue up the music, take a look at the thumb, and let's get ready for some Monday Night Football. On the thumb, on the left, one of the most explosive wide receivers in the game, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And on the right, one of the most athletic quarterbacks that we have seen in decades. It's Action Jackson, Lamar Jackson. Can't wait to be able to see how this one turns out. Now, if you do remember, these two teams played each other 2 years ago, and the Ravens stomped them. The Lions put up only 6 points. And we know the Lions have, gotten progressively better and better, with Dan Campbell under the helm, but obviously losing some offensive linemen and losing early to the Packers. Obviously, there's been a little bit of doubt that the Lions, they feel like they're going to be a playoff team. They feel like they're going to contend with the Packers, especially after the Packers beat the Lions. We thought, maybe the Packers are one of the best teams in the NFC with the Eagles and the Bucks, but then they ended up losing to the Browns this weekend. So this is a huge game. Both teams are 1-1. We would assume the Ravens are going to win at home. They are the better team, top to bottom. And again, they're at home. So again, as long as Detroit doesn't do what they did 2 years ago, hopefully they'll be able to put some points on the board. But if the Lions want to keep this one close or possibly win, they're going to have to strike early and strike fast. They're going to have to get an early 10-0, 14-0 lead, and they're going to have to probably score on their defense. That's really the only way that I can see them even kind of keeping close with the Ravens. And if we're really being honest, the Ravens should be 2-0. They definitely dominated the Buffalo Bills, and we know there's only roughly 7 teams that are undefeated left, a few in the AFC, a few in the NFC. And again, we will find out who are the contenders and who are going to be the pretenders. But obviously, you got the Bills who look legit. The Colts are undefeated, right? So you know what they're doing. The Chargers as well. So you have some, teams that you thought would be there, Buffalo, and maybe teams that you weren't really sure with the Colts and the Chargers. We got the Eagles and the Bucks undefeated. We play each other this weekend. So somebody's going down. We do have a good record against Philadelphia, and it is in Tampa. So I think we actually have a good chance. A lot of Eagles fans are even saying that, the Buccaneers kind of own the Eagles as of late. But, again, we will kind of wait and see. Eagle fans are very passionate. They're very rowdy, to say the least, and I'm looking forward to that. And then you have kind of the surprise San Francisco 49ers. They haven't really played anybody yet. And again, when you got guys like Brock Purdy, and then you got to go to Mac Jones, but you just lost Nick Bosa for the year, right? You have injuries to George Kittle. You have injuries to Ayuk. You don't have Deebo Samuel anymore. So if you're looking at the team, the Niners, are they undefeated? Yes. But if you look at all the teams that are undefeated right now, that's the one that kind of seems like a pretender. Good for them, to start off 3-0, especially with all of those injuries. Obviously, I can relate. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have 3 starters that are out on the offensive line. So to be able to watch that game against the Jets, and they had 7 or 8 offensive line holding penalties, I thought, oh, holy hell, this is going to be a long day. But Baker has been baking. And again, fourth quarter, we're down. It's the first time that we had a blocked field goal that was returned for a touchdown in Tampa's history in 50 years. And it ended up happening a couple days ago. So yesterday, to be exact. So again, Baker finding a way to get the job done. And again, we're going to definitely see the Lions and the Ravens in the playoffs. It's just that where are we going to see them? We assume that the Ravens can win the division, like the Buffalo Bills, the Colts, and the Chargers. Those are kind of the teams that are looking like that's the top dog. And then you go to the NFC. I don't think necessarily the Niners are going to win the division. Good for them for starting 3-0, but I still think the Rams are the best team in that division. Tough game against Philadelphia this weekend, and I'm going to have to go against them as well. Tampa runs the South. Obviously, Atlanta got skunked and put up a 0 against the Panthers. For anyone that thought that maybe this team could challenge Tampa, they will in the future, but maybe not this year. And Philadelphia is still the king of the castle. The Packers and Lions look good. The Commanders don't have Jaden Daniels, right? They got Marcus Mariota, but they could be a team that makes the playoffs. And then also a team that could hit the wild card could be the Seattle Seahawks. You know, obviously you're in a competitive division with the Cardinals, Seahawks, right? And on top of the Niners being undefeated and the Rams. But I feel after another month or so, you know, the division will shake out. And then we'll actually be able to see, you know, are the Niners still the best team, you know, based on their record, you know, or are they going to take a couple L's when they play some maybe tougher competition? We will wait and see. But it definitely feels like we got one pretender that's undefeated and all the rest are legit contenders. And again, even though these two teams are 1-1, they could be 2-0. And they probably should have been 2-0. But again, tough matchup with the Lions having to play the Packers early on. They got the job done there. Packers dropped going to the Browns. That was shocking. And then the Ravens should have beat the Bills. But Josh Allen, huge comeback. And again, you know, this is the NFL. You know, and the reason why we love it as much as we do, anything can happen, you know, on any given single Sunday, Monday, or Thursday. So we'll see how this all plays out. Marine Bean in the building, Sarah in the building, Navis in the building, Cody in the building. What's good? And here we go.
At your service.
Lions with the return.
Pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
And again, I would assume that the Ravens are going to win this game, and it could be a blowout. But again, we will kind of find out how it all plays out. And obviously, we'll be waiting desperately. As soon as this is over, we're going to be getting into some Mariners versus the Colorado Rockies for a 3-game set at home, and then a 3-game set against the Dodgers. Very, very excited. We got Oregon and Penn State this weekend, but we will be covering the Mariners the whole way through. And the Huskies play the Buckeyes. Go Huskies. Yeah, we'll see how that plays out as well. Goff, hands off to Jahmyr Gibbs. Breaks one tackle, breaks another, but that Raven defense is stifling. And that is a short game. 2-yard game there, 2nd down and 8 at the 35 of Detroit. And again, if the Lions are going to have any chance, you know, to be able to keep up, you know, with this Baltimore Raven team, they have to be the ones that score first. They'll probably have to get a score on defense because obviously scoring on special teams is fucking almost impossible now with kick returns and punt returns. And obviously with the new rules that they've implemented. Shotgun set, Goff, 2nd down and 8, floater down the sideline, wide open, and a spin move, 1st down, Lions. That's exactly what they needed. Move the chains. Goff to Williams, and we know how Williams is. You know, this is a deep threat. He's got great hands, good discipline, and again, you know, if you leave him open in a soft zone, just like that, in between 3 corners or safeties, good night. And eventually, he's going to get behind that safety, and that's probably what they're going to need. A lot of Laporta, a lot of Amon-Ra, a lot of Williams. Jameson, I see you. 1st down and 10, handoff, Jahmyr Gibbs. And look at Big 9-9 in there with a gang tackle with the Ravens. Nice job there. Blue in the building, what's good? University in the building, what's good? And again, you know, even though these two teams are 1-1, they both could be 2-0, and it's exciting. I mean, there obviously was a lot of craziness with blocked field goals being returned for touchdowns and a lot of stuff that we typically don't see. You know, fumbles for touchdowns, picks for touchdowns. I mean, there was some craziness after we saw how bad the Vikings looked against the Falcons last week. They tore it up on defense, obviously, this week. But again, every week is a new week to prove yourself. 2nd down and 13 turns into a 7-yard run there. Okay, baby, I see you at the Baltimore 37. Let's go. And I'm definitely looking forward to the Mariners in the next 6 games. And, you know, who's to say, you know, that the Mariners don't end up sweeping, right, the Colorado Rockies. But not only that, we have a chance to possibly sweep the Dodgers. We know the Dodgers are great, but remember, we do have the best record, you know, in baseball after the All-Star break. So anything is possible, you know, with the Seattle Mariners at this point. I think we know that. Goff deep middle to Williams again. My goodness. Let's go, baby. Refresh everything here. Give me one sec. Good old ESPN for you. I wish games weren't really on ESPN, to be honest. Like, you know, when they had Sunday Night Baseball, it was kind of a disaster. It's much better when it's on Root Sports. And again, it's like, you know, with the merging with NFL Network and then the merging, you know, with WWE, it's kind of a nightmare and whatnot, but we'll see how it all plays out. 2-yard run there from Gibbs. What do you mean error? Let's go. 2nd down and 8 at the Baltimore 16. You would think ESPN would be reliable, but it clearly is not. Because I have my email, you know, linked, you know, so that way I can end up watching it, you know, whether it be on ABC or ESPN, but not reliable, let me tell you. I wish it was. 3rd down and 3 after that 5-yard pass. Yeah, and again, I think it's going to get to a point where they're going to start losing. They're going to start losing fans that aren't going to pay that money. I mean, you can always watch it on a streaming link, and obviously, you know, they're going to be at a position where you're going to be maybe behind, you know, 10 seconds or 15 seconds, but and incomplete by Goff there to Gibbs. And obviously a heavy dose of Gibbs and Williams early on. And they'll have to settle for the field goal. But remember, that's better than nothing. They ended up only putting up 6 points, 2 years ago, and they got mollywopped. I believe the score was something in the nature of 33-6. So obviously the last time Detroit, you know, was here, it wasn't pretty. And again, they're going to have to strike early. They're going to have to strike often. And again, you know, Lamar is one of the best quarterbacks in the land. And, you know, it's really crazy. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Daniel Jones, and Baker Mayfield have touchdowns and no picks this year. Now, obviously, when you say Josh Allen, right, and you say Lamar, it's a kind of a given. But with Baker and Daniel Jones adding to that mix, it definitely shows you why the Colts and the Buccaneers are undefeated, you know, so far this year. And the Colts should win the division, you know, as long as they don't have any major injuries. Same thing with the Buccaneers. And sometimes a change of scenery for guys like Danny Dimes as well as Baker Mayfield, starting his career off with the Browns and then the Panthers and then the Rams. You know, you never know, you know, when you can end up finding that perfect spot and that perfect fit, you know, to be able to kind of, you know, rejuvenate your career, so to speak. And I wish this ESPN would be more reliable. It keeps giving me a network error, which is hilarious because I have, you know, we have Xfinity here, right? And then I have my email linked. So sometimes I'll watch things on my phone or through, you know, the computer itself. But then it's giving me some bullshit error here. So just give me a sec. Good old ESPN, unreliable as ever. Like, what's the point of having the cable if you can't even have a reliable broadcast? And I have good internet too. I have a gig, so it has nothing to do with that. Maybe they've bit off a little bit more than they can chew. And I am baffled why this is acting this way, but I guess this is what we have to deal with. And touchdown Lions, huh? Oh my. 1 yard tutty for Gibbs. And again, that's what they needed, going from, you know, 3 to, you know, potentially getting 6, and they're going to have to do it early and often. And I'll have to give ESPN a piece of my mind here. I don't know how many times I have to keep fucking refreshing this thing. Extra point is up and good. Oh, you're trash, Espen. I mean, their just network has gone downhill so quickly. And now I'll just try to see if I can pivot here and see if this version works here for the... I'm very confused why this is acting this way, but again, I'm not really too surprised. All right, can I actually watch the game here? I mean, at this point, I could watch it on a streaming link, and the whole point of having my email linked is to be able to watch games live. And again, unreliable as usual. And I should be able to get things going here, but everything was good. And then all of a sudden, it ended up kind of freezing up. And, that's Monday Night Football for you. All right, let's try again. Anytime now. This is like the most unreliable piece of shit ever. Jesus Christ, dude. All right, are you going to work for me or not? And network error occurred when you're communicating with the provider's authorization, which is 100% bullshit. Unreal. I mean, I'm getting to a point where I might just actually watch it on a different link, which is insane, but what a piece of shit, huh? All right, finally. Jesus Christ. Unreal. Golly. I think they bit off more than they can chew. It's one of those things, again, if you're going to be that unreliable, what are you doing? Buying WWE with TKO with rights and NFL Network, like leave things alone. You're making things worse, and it's not like the network is good. It's terrible. Like, keep NFL Network on NFL Network. There's a reason why we loved it, because it was over there. All right, 7-0 Lions. Would have been nice if I was able to catch every single thing that happened there. I got most of it. All right, Lamar, your turn, baby. 9:16 left. What kind of documentary did you watch? Yeah, and then the WWE, obviously, that definitely looked like it was a disaster itself, too. So, all right, baby, 7-2 record, career on Monday Night Football, 22 passing TDs, 3 rushing TDs, and the best stat of them all, 0 picks. So, again, that is mind-blowing for a player. And, again, hopefully we'll be able to see some action with Derrick Henry, King Henry, Zay Flowers. Maybe they'll even get Mark Andrews the ball, even though it seems like he doesn't touch it really anymore. But maybe this is the day we get Andrews the ball early. Here we go. Play action fake. Lamar looking at Andrews' way. What do you know? Mark Andrews rumbling and a bumbling. There we go. 19 yards. Branch with the catch. First down, Ravens. Good offensive line protection up front for Lamar. And again, he can just dink and doink, and again, we expect, Lamar and Josh Allen to be elite and great because they've been, top 5 guys for quite some time. But, to see Baker and Daniel Jones be as efficient as those two, it is kind of eyebrow raising. Oh, that looks like Hutchinson jumped off sides. Neutral zone infraction by Hutch. 5-yard penalty. First down and 5 now at the Baltimore 44. They signed Mike Hilton. Yeah, Mariner magic number is 3. But again, if we can go 6-0 against the Rockies and Dodgers, that definitely would give us the most momentum moving forward. First down and 5. Man in motion. Hand off to Derrick Henry, follows his blockers, and is able to lunge forward, 7-yard gain. Barnes with the tackle. First down, Ravens. And I love watching both of these teams. One's obviously in the AFC, that's typically on, CBS. If it's, here in Oregon, and obviously NFC teams on Fox, just like wherever you guys are living across the country in the Midwest, East Coast, or globally. And, I get a lot of Lions, coverage. They show them pretty often, based on the games that they usually would have on Fox, if we're not talking about games on Sunday night, Monday night, and Thursday night. But two definitely entertaining teams that are going to go at it. And we'll see who ends up being victorious here at the end. Lamar with the keeper on the RPO, sliding and slipping. First down, Ravens. Nice 12-yard run there. First down, Baltimore. Move the chains. Lamar is looking very sharp here early and often. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train. And we'll be looking to get 5 to 15 subs. Right now, we only need 3, and we're at 22,100. So we're almost there already. First down and 10. Shotgun set. Lamar in a 5-wide set. Little check down to Andrews. And this is the most I've seen Andrews get targeted early in the game all season. And a nice catch there by the former All-Pro. 8-yard pass. Second down and 2 at the Detroit 29. Looking forward to this weekend with the Ducks and Penn State in the whiteout. Huskies going against the Buckeyes, the Ohio State University. Those are must-see TV games for me, and I'm very excited about the Mariners coming up in these next 6 regular season games. Shotgun set, Lamar, hands off to Henry, but he runs into 3 Detroit Lions, and that was a gain of about a yard down to the Detroit 28. Third down and 1 with 6:10 and counting, 7-0 Detroit. Texas, yeah. They have a great defense every year, so at least you got that going for you. Offense is going to vary based on who ends up going to the NFL and who your quarterback is. Going from Quinn Ewers to Arch is a little bit of a downgrade, based on how Ewers played. Run up the middle, rumbling and a bumbling. Oh, baby, the 10, the 5, touchdown, Ravens. King Henry strikes again. Oh, my. Oh, offside on the defense. That's declined. And Derrick Henry imposing his will. Beautiful tutty by King Henry. Following his blockers, great vision. And again, he's a one of one. I don't think we've ever seen a player that is built like Derrick Henry. Upper body strength, lower body strength, right? Can run guys over, but he's insanely fast for his size. And once he hits the hole, he is gone. Look at that vision. And then bouncing it to the outside. He can jump cut with the best of them. He didn't really need to there. Just was patient with his blockers. Might have been a slight hold there by Mark Andrews, but nothing, based off a penalty. Extra point is up and good. 7-7. We got ourselves a good one, baby. And again, this is exactly what we needed, because if the Ravens would have started off 14-0, it would have ended up like 2 years ago when the Lions came into town and lost like 33-6. So I'm very happy that we're getting both offenses, and it could be a high-scoring game. And hopefully that's what we end up getting. Not that I don't love defense, I do, but in this particular matchup, I think it would be great if we could get into the 30s or something similar in that Bills score that we had from obviously a few weeks ago. 7-7 Lions and Ravens, and hopefully there won't be any more issues through ESPN. I had a couple minor ones when we were doing Sunday Night Baseball, but the broadcast overall is terrible. It's so much better on Root Sports for us to be able to watch games. And obviously once they go to the playoffs, it's going to shift, I assume, from Root Sports to a bigger network, whether it be TBS or ESPN. So I'm not necessarily looking forward to that, but it would be really sweet if the Mariners were able to cut a deal to also as a split broadcast use the Mariner, people, and we could continue to watch through them. That would be the most enjoyable, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see how they play everything out as we get into the last 6 games of the MLB regular season for a lot of us starting tomorrow, unless you ended up playing today. It truly was. It was beautiful. And again, the Lions' offensive line isn't really the same as it was from last year. And I think that if you were able to retain a lot of the same pieces, maybe you wouldn't have lost to the Packers early on. And again, it's going to be a long season, but, it's pretty clear. I think Lions and Packers, should be able to make it, right? You're going to get the Eagles, but who's going to make it? Is it going to be like the Commanders, or the Hawks? Possibly as that second team. Still think the Rams are the best team. But again, Niners are 3-0, but the injuries are going to start piling up, and they're kind of a cursed team. It's like, they get so close, but Shanahan just doesn't know how to coach in the fourth quarter, and they can go to the NFC Championship game. They can go to the Super Bowl, but again, you're not going to win unless you have a Joe Montana, Steve Young quarterback. And, with all the quarterbacks that they've tried with Kaepernick and, Brock Purdy, they're just not good enough. You need someone a little bit better. Not to say that those guys weren't good, but they're not good enough. You need a Hall of Fame type of quarterback on the Niners to win it all. And, like if, for example, Tom Brady chose the Niners instead of the Bucks, yeah, they would have won, but again, he came to Tampa instead, and I'm thankful for that. Here's the kickoff. And a good return here, following his blockers right up the middle, getting tripped up, and a 30-yard return by Sailors. And now we're down at the 32-yard line, first down and 10 for Jared Goff and the Goffettes. .5:35 left here in the first quarter. 7-7 Lions and Ravens. It's been a good one here so far. They did set up for a field goal. Penalty ended up giving them an advantage. Gibbs with a 1-yard rush. Bates with the extra point. And then Derrick Henry with the loop kick. And we're knotted up at 7. Screen pass. Could be a fumble. And good defense there. Incomplete pass by Jared Goff. Oh, did they say it was live? Wow. Second down and 19. I'm not sure if that's something that needs to be reviewed. Yeah, we'll see if the Huskies and the Ducks can pull off miracles against Penn State and Ohio State. It's going to take a hell of an effort. But if there were teams that were able to do it this year, it is Oregon and Washington. Those would be the teams that could possibly do it. So we'll see if the Pacific Northwest will be smiling at the end of the weekend. Bouncing it to the outside. And Gibbs running for no gain, running sideways. You got to run up and down. Green pushing him out. Third down and 19 here on the Detroit 23. And obviously the Lions are going to have a long day with pass protection up front. I watched Georgia and Tennessee. I always try to watch everyone. I watch the top 25 teams outside of the top 25, the big ranked matchups, top 25 versus top 25. I'm usually watching about 3 or 4 full college football games on a Saturday. That helps me scout and obviously come up with predictions and whatnot, obviously on the NFL side. And I feel like if you watch college football, you're going to be quite a bit smarter than the people that don't. You're going to be able to be better on, evaluations on draft picks, guys that might end up panning out and figuring it out sooner than others. If you watch a lot of college football, if you just watch NFL, you can be dedicated and you can be intelligent. But again, if you're not watching college, again, you're definitely missing, a piece that could make you understand the game a little bit more, as well as the players as well. Fourth down and 11. Lions have to punt. Great defense there by the Ravens. Fox punts 54 yards, and you get a 11-yard return. And now we're going to be a first down and 10 at the Baltimore 26. But I try to watch the Huskies every week. I keep tabs with the Beavers and the Cougs, even though they're not very good. I'm always keeping up with the Big Ten and top 25 teams from the SEC, the Big 12, ACC. Peeping, Carson Beck on Miami. Taking a peek at Georgia, looking at all the teams that Oregon and Washington are going to be kind of looking at, and hopefully Washington and a few other teams that have been kind of disrespected early. Hopefully we'll be able to have more teams, enter the top 25 and stay in the top 25 this year. So, but Georgia-Tennessee was probably the best SEC game I've watched so far, this year. I mean, it was very back and forth. And honestly, Tennessee had that game won, but it seems like, good teams find a way to win. Bad teams find a way to lose. And I'm not saying Tennessee's bad, but they definitely remembered all those previous years of choking. And they kind of choked late with that field goal. And obviously, if they would have hit it in regulation, they would have won, got the field goal. And then obviously, what Georgia does. If you give Kirby Smart too many chances, eventually they're going to find a way to win. And that's what happens. So, yeah, I do. I mean, we are fanatics here on the channel. So, I do basketball, baseball, football, hockey, WWE, AEW. Hell, I even do NASCAR, Xfinity Series, the trucks, as well as NASCAR Cup. So, and I'll even, keep tabs with boxing and UFC if I feel that it's, a good matchup one-on-one. So there really isn't anything. I could say golf, and tennis. I don't really follow those, but those are so kind of niche sports and whatnot. But obviously when football and baseball are over, we'll transition to a little NHL, a little NBA, and then a little NASCAR. And then once baseball starts back up again, in March, and obviously going into April, then it'll be Mariners starting over there until we get to NFL college football season. And then we'll just be on repeat. So, but it's nice to be able to, do this full time. So, and it's also nice that we don't have that much time off after the Super Bowl ends and obviously the college football and the Natty ends and the baseball ends, obviously at the very latest at the end of October, beginning of November, if we go to Game 7 in the World Series, that there's not a whole lot of time before we have baseball again, which is nice. All right, second possession here for the Ravens, and I would assume that Zay Flowers and a few other individuals are going to get some opportunities, especially when they went very King Henry on that first drive. Lamar can run the RPOs. Literally, it's just a very tough, offense to be able to gauge. It's not going to be easy. And again, it kind of feels like the Ravens and the Bills are the best teams in the AFC with the Chargers. But again, people will doubt the Chargers until they actually end up beating the Ravens or Bills in the playoffs. And if they end up doing that, then people will start believing. But they just lost Najee to a season-ending injury, so that'll hurt them. Little check down there, 7-yard gain. Kolar, the other tight end on that other side, Barnes with the tackle. But it's kind of nice to be able to see, some new teams, break out like the Colts, the Chargers. Obviously, we knew Eagles and Bucks, Rams were going to be pretty good, and Lions and Packers. And, Seahawks might end up being a team that, ends up getting a wild card. It's definitely possible. Them and the Commanders would be the teams to be looking at, you would assume. Handoff up the middle, and he runs into a gang of Lions. Hashtag One Pride says not today. And King Henry with a short gain there of maybe half a yard or none. 3rd down and 3 at the Baltimore 34. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. We only need 3 subs to get to 22,100, so I'm hoping that we can definitely get that. And we've gained 1 sub. We only need 2 more to go. Shotgun set. Lamar, floater, and complete. Justice Hill, the intended running back. 2 more subs do 22,100. Now, these bots are furious whenever I do college football or NFL. And now 4th down and 3 at the Baltimore 34. Lions defense steps up in the utmost way. And again, he had some offensive explosion on individual first drives, for the Lions and Ravens. And now both defenses tightening up, adjusting as the game is, continuing in the first quarter. And we have a flag here on the return. Khalif Raymond. Oh, maybe a block in the back there. And there might be multiple flags here. DJ Tampa with the tackle. But I'll tell you what, it's very exciting as we get a holding. That's offensive holding. That's going to bring it all the way back to the Detroit 4. But this is like the first time that, the Ducks, the Bucks, and the Mariners are all like relevant since like 2001. And that's pretty exciting. I'm not used to seeing all three be amazing at the same time, and I don't really have too much expectations for the Blazers and the Kraken. It's kind of a wait and see approach. Like it would be nice if the Blazers and Kraken, once we get done with the NFL college football season and we transition there, and we do some Kraken games and some Blazer games and good matchups in the NHL and the NBA as the season goes. But obviously the Blazers will be shooting for maybe an 8 seed, and with the Kraken, I don't think they're necessarily going to be maybe in the mix. West is very deep, but you never know. A new year, a new beginning. We got 3 games to go to clinch. So obviously, based off record, to be able to win over the Astros, we have 6 games left. So if we end up sweeping the Rockies, around that time period, or even around maybe game 2, we will be able to figure out how the structure will continue for the MLB playoffs. And obviously the wild card race, is going to be a mix of 5 teams shooting for 3 spots. And then obviously on the National League side, it seems like it's a little bit deeper over there. I think they have 7 teams shooting for 3 spots. So we will see. It's going to be very, very exciting. We obviously know the teams that are legit, like the Blue Jays and the Mariners. Tigers are hitting a wall. Astros are hitting a wall. Yankees and Red Sox are still in the mix, as well as the Guardians. And then obviously you got the Phillies, you got the Cubs, you got the Brewers, the Dodgers, and the Padres. Mets were kind of reeling, and obviously the Reds might be able to get that last spot. So these last 6 games are going to be really, really, critical, moving forward for many, many teams. 7-7 Lions and Ravens here on a commercial break. Minute 43 left in the first, and we got a good one here. Yeah, it's been kind of a back and forth battle between the Yankees and the Red Sox, but obviously unusual territory for those 2 organizations to be looking up at another team like the Blue Jays, but they've been very good this year. And it kind of seems like the Blue Jays and the Mariners might be the top dogs for now. And then, the other teams are still going to be in the mix. But, things can change within a matter of a few games based off momentum. So I'm definitely excited to see how it all plays out. Handoff to David Montgomery on their own 4-yard line. Or their own 2-yard line. They get to the Detroit 6 on a 4-yard gain. Tackled by Jenkins and Robinson by Detroit. Or by the Ravens, excuse me. 7-7 Lions and Ravens. 2nd down and 6 at the Detroit 6. We'll see if Jared Goff and the Goffense can get this team out of their own end zone, and they can kind of move the chains. I mean, obviously, we know Baltimore's got a pretty good defense, but with that being said, they're kind of bend but don't break. They're not going to be elite, every single play. But right there, they tried to be elite in a big, big stop. Loss of 2 for David Montgomery, but we got a flag on the play. See what the call is here. Looks like it might be a penalty on Detroit. Illegal formation. All right, Ravens decline. 3rd down and 7 at the Detroit 5. And if they're just going to play the field position game, eventually you would assume this will turn into a punt. And then the Ravens will get the ball around the 40 or the 50, make a couple offensive plays, and be in range for a field goal or more specifically a Lamar Jackson touchdown. Third down and 7 on the Detroit 5. Trips left, shotgun set for Jared Goff, and they need a first down desperately. See if the Ravens bring the blitz. They do. Goff stays calm in the pocket, and a nice catch. There we go. Sam Laporta. First down, Lions. One pride, stand up. Starks with the tackle, and again, offensive line did just enough as the Ravens bring the house, and Sam Laporta was able to break off his man and has great hands to be able to make that play in one-on-one coverage. end of the first quarter, and it was a good one. 7-7 Lions and Ravens, and the Lions already have more points than they did 2 years ago when they lost like 33-6 on the road. And obviously we know the Lions have progressively been getting better and better and better, going from 2 wins with the Dan Campbell era, and then getting a little bit higher to the 9 wins, and then getting into like the 12-win range, and then obviously what we saw in that 14-15 win team last year. So they've been getting better and better with Dan Campbell. But really what's hurt the Lions this year is obviously losing guys on the offensive line to retirement, or obviously free agency and whatnot. And the offensive line for the Lions doesn't really look the same, and we'll see how the defense looks this year. But I still think the Lions and Packers will be in the playoffs. The real question is who's going to win the division. That will be the real question. If it was from a couple weeks ago, we probably would have said Packers after they beat the Lions. But then after the Packers lost to the Browns this weekend, it makes you kind of question, is this team as good as we think, or was that just a one-off thing, and whatnot? And obviously if the Lions lose here, they drop to 1-2, but they're probably going to be one of the best 1-2 teams at this point. So it's like the Niners might be 3-0, but if they played the Lions and they were 1-2, I would assume the Lions would win. So, but again, you'll have to monitor these teams, as we go through the first month, and then we get through the second month of the season, and then we'll really start to separate the pretenders from the contenders. I think the Vegas line, I mean, again, normally in this type of situation, it's a Raven win almost automatically. So I assume that, winning by 6 or more, that's probably a pretty safe bet. But again, Detroit is playing a little bit better than anticipated on the road, and they're going to be probably the more desperate team, at this point, even though both are 1-1. Both are our playoff teams, and the Ravens are at home. And again, they might be, not like overconfident, but, very, comfortable at home, assuming they're going to win. But Detroit, obviously, most people are picking against them. So they have more to lose, at this point, if you're the Detroit Lions. So we will see. I'm not sure if Detroit could win this, but again, if they end up scoring early, which they did, that'll give them a shot. They're tied right now going in the second quarter, so that's good for them. And then if they end up scoring on special teams or defense, that could be the difference between the Lions actually winning this game or not. But again, it should be a back and forth scoring game. So kind of hard to decide on where we're going to be at. I mean, is it possible that, the Ravens only win by 3, or 4? Yeah, I mean, it could happen, but the Lions playing a little bit better than anticipated on the road compared to 2 years ago. Mike in the building, what's good? Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 on the likes, 100 on the dono train, and we're trying to hit 22,100 on the sub count. We only need 2 more to hit that number. Goff, play action. Good protection up front with a little check down and a nice little stiff arm there. And David Montgomery bouncing it to the outside and running over 2 Ravens. Buchanan ended up pushing him out, and a beautiful gain there of 13 yards. David Montgomery, a nice 1-2 combo punch with him and Jahmyr Gibbs. First down and 10, man in motion, Amon-Ra, play action fake, Goff tucks it and runs, seeing his sights for the first down marker, but gets down with a baseball slide, safe, 5-yard gain. Second down and 5 at the Detroit 33, and that was smart. You don't want to get a concussion, you don't want to get blasted with a big injury, and again, the quarterbacks need to go down, and that was a good decision there. Goff under center, I formation, halfback toss, and nowhere to go there. Gibbs running towards the sideline, loss of 3 yards. Starks pushing him out for the Ravens. Third down and 8 at the Detroit 30. And they got to get Amon-Ra St. Brown the ball. I mean, if you're the Detroit Lions, you can go to Gibbs and you can go to Montgomery, and you got to run the ball to open up the passing game. We've already seen Laporta and Jamison Williams early, but you can't forget about Amon-Ra St. Brown. You know, he could be the game breaker in this game, but if you don't get him the ball, that's going to limit your chances of trying to compete. 3rd down and 8. See if we can get Laporta or Amon-Ra here. Shotgun set. Goff looking at Laporta. He's open. Soft zone. 1st down. Lions. Move the chains. And Laporta getting in on the action like Mark Andrews here early. And again, it's nice to be able to see tight ends being utilized, especially with some of the other tight ends that have been already hurt early in the year, like George Kittle, which is unfortunate. But again, if you're going to be playing man, it better be close. And if you're going to play a soft zone, again, each team is going to eat that up, whether that be Jared Goff in the Goffense or Lamar Action Jackson. 1st down and 10. On the Detroit 44, under center, hands it off, runs into his own man, and then runs into 2 Ravens. Jenkins and Urban, no gain. 2nd down and 10 at the Detroit 44. I'm definitely looking forward to Mariners and Rockies for the next 3 days, and Mariners and Dodgers. Super excited about that. And then we got Ducks and Penn State, obviously on the weekend, as well as the Huskies and the Buckeyes. Going to be very exciting for Oregon and Washington, Penn State and Ohio State. Looking forward to that too. And obviously the Buccaneers and the Eagles, 3-0, 3-0. Someone's got to win that game, and hopefully I'll be the undefeated team as the weekend ends. Nice run there. Good vision there by David Montgomery. 9 yards like a bowling ball, bouncing off tacklers. Buchanan and Hamilton finally with the tackle. 3rd down and 1 at the Baltimore 47. Kyle Hamilton doing the same things that he did at Notre Dame here for the Baltimore Ravens. Hand off to Gibbs, and he sees the hole, gets pushed backwards, but not after the momentum. Already with that forward progress. 1st down, Lions. Move the chains. And this team looks a hell of a lot better than they did 2 years ago. But again, some of the players that are on the team now weren't on the team 2 years ago. So when you have guys like Montgomery and Gibbs and Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra and then Sam Laporta with Goff, even though they've lost some guys on the line like Ragnow, and obviously the defense is still a little shaky, but they do have Hutchback. We will see how this progresses, but Lions are playing pretty well, playing like a playoff team here on the road early, and I like that. 1st down and 10. Goff, protection breaking down, and flag is thrown out and out of bounds after Jahmyr Gibbs gets pushed out. And we'll see if this is on Baltimore here. Great 9-yard pass. And illegal contact here on Kyle Hamilton. And that penalty is declined. 2nd down and 1 after the declined penalty at the Baltimore 37. 7-7 Lions and Ravens. I mean, and again, Ravens are very hard to beat, period. No matter when you're playing them. Early in September or late in December in the cold. And again, I'm impressed so far what I've seen here with Detroit. They're playing like more of the desperate team that wants this win. Handoff up the middle. Oh, almost broke through. David Montgomery was about a shoestring tackle away of being King Henry and finding the end zone. Wow. 8-yard gain before he got tripped up by Wiggins from the Ravens. 1st down and 10 at the Baltimore 29. Move the chains. 9:45 and counting here in the 2nd quarter, and we have a good one. 7-7 Lions and Ravens. And for all the people that ended up betting on the game, the bets might get busted if the Lions keep playing like this. I mean, it's one thing to play great at home, but you can really, feel how a team is going to be when they play on the road against a really good team like Baltimore. Goff, hands off, up the middle. Montgomery, rumbling and a bumbling. Kyle Hamilton with the tackle. First down, Lions. And if you're the Ravens, you can't be giving up first down after first down on the ground, because eventually that's going to open up to Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, or Laporta for a tutty. Combined rushing TD since 2023, 54 by Gibbs and Montgomery. I got a pretty good pairing in Tampa, obviously, with Rachaad White and my boy from Oregon, Bucky Irving. And it really does make a huge difference when you have two guys that you can rely on in the backfield, no doubt. I mean, I went from one of the worst rushing teams in the NFL to one of the best. Handoff on first down and 10. And it's a nice thunder and lightning combo for the Lions because Gibbs is electric, and then you get the ground and pound with Montgomery. So it's not like they're two small guys or two big guys. They complement each other perfectly. And Jahmyr Gibbs with a 1-yard gain. Green and Washington with a great tackle there. Second down and 9 at the Baltimore 18. And you obviously are seeing a heavy dose of Gibbs and Montgomery, which is a smart game plan. Once you start throwing and avoiding the run, that's when the Ravens are going to torch you. So handoff again up the middle. Great blocking up front. And the Ravens D-line is getting exposed on this drive. 8-yard gain. Third down and 1 at the Baltimore 10. And eventually when you run, what happens? You do the play action, you throw it over the top, and that's when you're going to get the touchdown, to either Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, or Sam Laporta. Proud of this Lions team representing the NFC, because Lamar is like, insane record. It's like 25-2 against the NFC. So there's not very many teams in the NFC that can compete with the Ravens, especially in their house. But the Lions look legit here today. They look like a playoff team, which I believe they will be, both of these teams. Third down and 1, QB sneak. Jared Goff in the offense. Great play call there. First down, Lions. Move the chains. Here we go. Seahawks are going to have a chance. They might be able to get the wild card. Hell, I mean, depending on what happens in the division, I mean, it's kind of up for grabs. I mean, kind of a surprising start by the Niners, 3-0, but they have a shitload of injuries, and eventually they'll start taking L's. And if Seattle keeps playing offense like they have been, within the last few weeks, they're definitely going to be in the running with the Rams, I believe, at the end. Patch up the middle and down to the 1-yard line. Goff to Gibbs. Buchanan and Starks with the tackle, and then now this is usually Gibbs or Montgomery running it right up the middle for a tutty that we should get here in about a second or two. But definitely the Commanders, Seahawks, those look like teams that are going to be, kind of in the mix at some point or another. So. I mean, there's no point at throwing the football here when you're on the one. Pound the rock with two of the best running backs in the game. And let's see what they do here. Second and goal, Montgomery. And, wow, very close. And they say he didn't get there. No gain. Urban. And then now they say he did get in. Touchdown, Lions. David Montgomery. But let's see if they're going to call that back or not. Yep, he is in. And again, for all the people that bet Ravens, based off the spread, whether it be 5.5 or even lower, their bets might be in jeopardy. We know the Ravens will be able to, counter back. There's no doubt about that. But I think a little shocking to see the Lions playing this well on the road. But again, for a lot of us NFC fans, we like to see our NFC teams do well against the AFC. Like the Bills and Ravens and the Chargers are great, as well as the Colts this year, right? But we got some pretty great teams in the NFC too, right? You got the Eagles, right? Lions and Packers, the Buccaneers, the Rams, and Seahawks look pretty fucking good too. And I guess we can throw the Niners in there for now as well. But, I assume that that's going to be, that'll end up evening out as it should in the next month or two. Extra point is up and good. 14-7 Lions. Great fucking drive. And again, when you have Dan Campbell, and even if you lose your offensive coordinator, who ends up being the Bears' new head coach, you're going to be able to find, a lot of different, coordinators around the land that would be drooling and salivating to be working with Goff. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who hasn't even really got the ball yet, right? Jamison Williams and many, many others. Nice job so far. And we're having an offensive showcase here today on Monday Night Football, 14-7 Lions. Awesome. Fireball Blazing Apple. Interesting. That would definitely be something that I would buy back in the day if it was available, but I wonder what that tastes like. I imagine pretty good. I mean, some people like Fireball, some people don't, but I've definitely cut back on a lot of things that, bad habits and whatnot. So, yeah, textbook offensive drive. I totally agree. I mean, hell, anything that, goes 80 or longer, is very, very impressive. And then when you get into the 90, yard drive, when you start at the 10, you're like, wow. But then when you are backed up, like on your own 1 or your own 2, and then you can go all the way down the field with maybe minimal, penalties on the other team. It's like kind of you doing it rather than getting bailed out with like a PI and gaining like 30 yards. That can still be impressive as well. But when you're doing it pretty much clean with some minor penalties in between, and you're able to go 98 yards, on the road, it definitely feels like the Lions want it more than the Ravens, at least early on here. And it could really come down to whoever has the ball last wins the game. We could definitely see something like that, just back and forth scoring. And again, both offenses are very exciting to watch. Defenses, maybe not so much. I mean, there's players on each side that are fun to watch, but I don't know if anyone really fears the Lions or the Ravens defense. Not so much, They're both kind of offensive-oriented football clubs that do have, some pieces on the D that can make it exciting from time to time, so. But a very entertaining first half here, much better than the Falcons and the Viking game that we did. So, some Sunday night, Monday night games are going to be electric and others are going to be a disappointment and whatnot. But most Thursday night games are going to be horrendous. But as we get into like December, they start to get a little bit better. The Bucs and the Falcons will play each other, and there'll be a few other matchups that will be pretty good. So, but as of the last few years, Thursday night football, I won't say it has been unwatchable, but there's definitely been some shittier matchups on Thursday rather than Sunday and Monday. Good return there. Go, go, go. And wow, 43-yard return there. Bates kicks off. And an amazing return there by Ali. We ain't talking Muhammad. First down and 10 at the Baltimore 49. And now they're going to be a few first downs away from a field goal, but they're going to be looking for 6. They want to go into this game tied up at half, 14-14, but we'll see how much time is left once the time, more than likely the Ravens score. First down and 10. Hand off to Henry. And runs into a couple Lions there. Lacey with the tackle. Second down and 7 at the Detroit 48, 14-7 Lions. Trips left. Shotgun set for Lamar. Sends Justice Hill in motion. And he's got a quarterback keeper, but does not get away from Detroit. Barnes and company with a great tackle. No gain. Third down and 7 at the Detroit 48. And if Detroit can force a 3-and-out here, the Lions could end up going up 17-7 or 21-7 with 5:11 left here in the second. Big play right now. Biggest play for the Ravens so far up to this point. They need this first down. No, Mariners have the last 6 games at home. They play the Rockies at home for 3 at T-Mobile and 3 games versus the Dodgers. Everything is at home. and they have the best record at home after the All-Star break, which is something like 20 wins and 3 losses. So pass towards the sideline and complete. Beautiful catch there by Bateman. Arnold with the tackle. First down, Ravens. So it isn't crazy to think that the Mariners could go 5-1 or even 6-0. You know, again, beating the Rockies and sweeping them is kind of what we expect. We want to shoot for 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers, but if we win the first 2, definitely we could sweep them. You know, and even though we know the Dodgers are a good team, but you know they definitely haven't been as strong after the All-Star break compared to the beginning of the year. So we'll see how it all plays out. Hopefully we go 6-0 in the last 6 games. Shotgun set on first down and 10. Lamar, he's got a man. Wide open. Got him. Oh, they're about to score, baby. First down, Ravens flock. Walker with the catch. Arnold with the tackle. And when you play zone or man and you're not close enough, that's what's going to happen there. They're getting, both defenses are getting exposed. What a route right there. Beautiful route by Walker. 14-7 Lions, and this one is definitely going to be one of the more exciting games on Monday night for the year. And a little short yard gain of 2 by Henry. Reed with the tackle by the Lions. Second and goal on the Detroit 1. Handed off to King Henry. And boom shakalaka, 14-14. Do exactly what the Lions did to you with David Montgomery and Gibbs. Just right up the middle. Don't get cute here. I mean, Lamar could also run it in himself if you do an RPO. But obviously, if you have King Henry in fantasy, you're hoping that it's him. See what they do here. But you never know. They might end up throwing the ball at some point. And they stopped him. Run up the middle for no gain. Cunningham with the tackle. Offensive line needs to play better for Baltimore. And now it's 3rd and goal on the Detroit 1. And we'll see what they decide to dial up here. I mean, if you run like a RPO and fake it to Henry and bounce it to the outside with Lamar, they would score 100%, anticipating it would be going to Henry. So if you wanted to not just give him another shot to go right up the middle, let's see what they do here. And we got the 2-minute warning. Like, I wouldn't necessarily be passing the ball to Andrews or Zay Flowers, not at the 1. You know, so it's like you got 3 play calls. QB sneak by Lamar, and then you hope that the offensive line will block good enough. You hand it off to Henry right up the middle, you know, with a halfback dive or a counter, or because you're not going to probably toss it to the left or the right. Or you run an RPO with Lamar and you keep it, and he bounces it to the outside and then walks in for a touchdown. So we will see out of those 3 plays, you know, Henry, halfback dive, QB sneak by Lamar right up the gut, or an RPO, which I think would be the most effective. You know, you have Henry there. They think it's going to go to him. Yeah, you fake hand it off. You bounce it to the outside. You walk it in, and chances are they probably won't be anybody over there. So, but let's find out to see what happens. 3rd and goal with 2 minutes to go in the second quarter. Lions 14, Ravens 7. Entertaining game so far, though. Absolutely. And I haven't had any issues with ESPN. Like I said, I had a couple issues with them yesterday with Sunday Night Baseball, and then obviously it started to kind of freeze up and whatnot. And then I tried with my phone, and I tried with through ESPN through the computer here itself and the TV. But things look like they're better now. Haven't had any issues, which is good. But 2-minute warning. 14-7 Detroit. 3rd and goal to Detroit 1. And we'll see if they end up calling the right play call here. All right, Mike. Sounds good, brother. I'll be here until the game ends. I'll tell you, a lot more entertaining than Falcons and the Vikings. Again, each matchup, obviously, depending on the teams, some are going to be more entertaining than others. And let's see what we do here. 3rd and goal in the Detroit 1. I mean, if you got King Henry, you would assume that, this would be a good opportunity, but if it was me, I'd run the RPO with Lamar. It would be a touchdown. But I assume they're going to go to King Henry because he's King Henry, right? They're going to treat him like Montgomery or Gibbs. But again, the offensive lines for both teams are not very good, at least early on. Handoff with the toss, and he gets stuffed. Big tackle there by Cunningham and company. 4th and goal at the Detroit 2, loss of a yard. Should have went with the RPO. And at this point, you kick the field goal. You don't get greedy. Kick the field goal. But of course, they're not going to. They're going to go for it. So let's see what happens now. 4th and goal. Lamar bouncing it to the outside. Fake throw, and fumble. And a big play by Detroit. And that's why the Ravens might lose the game now, is because you got greedy, right? You kick the points when they're there. And if you think that you're just so much better than everyone else, you're never going to be able to advance over the Buffalo Bills or maybe even the Chargers this year if you play like that. Coaching is a big reason why the Ravens haven't been able to make it to the Super Bowl, let alone, being able to be the team that represents the AFC. Decisions like that, the coaching is horrendous. And again, Harbaugh, has more fuck-ups than any head coach in the AFC in years. And again, I guess history tends to repeat itself. Take the points. Ridiculous. Epic fail. And again, when you got Lamar and Derrick Henry and Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers, you got all these amazing players, for what? For nothing. If you got a shitty coach that doesn't know how to be able to take the points, you're never going to get past. You never could get past the Chiefs, or the Bills. Now the Chargers are better, and the Bills defense isn't very good. But at least they take points. And you can trust the Bills more than you can normally trust the Ravens as far as coaching. And, wow, unbelievable, man. You can definitely tell the teams that are greedy and the teams that aren't. The teams that are smart, the teams that are stupid. And that's sad, because for the talent level that Baltimore has, with the Chiefs kind of on the rocks, barely beating the Giants, it definitely feels like there's going to be a new team in the AFC in the Super Bowl, not the Chiefs. But again, it's not going to be the Ravens if they fucking play like that. I'll tell you that right now. Terrible coaching, terrible play calling. And now if the Lions can end up driving down the field and getting a field goal or a touchdown, they're going to have the momentum. And the Ravens will bounce back in the second half. But again, if the Lions score here and go up 21-7, it might be enough for them to win because they're not going to get slowed down in the second half. You would think they would still end up scoring probably at least a minimum of like 13 in the second half. They might only get a couple field goals if the Raven defense steps up. But, nothing makes me more irritated than shitty coaching and shitty play calling, especially when you're an elite team. You have Super Bowl aspirations. Lamar's got some MVPs, but again, the O-line, not very good, defense, shaky, and then the coaching and the play calling is fucking terrible. NFC teams are built a little bit different than AFC teams. AFC teams come out a little cocky, and they don't understand, that they just need to take the points. NFC teams usually are a little bit smarter, and they'll take the points that are there. Even though if you feel that you can get it, you take the points. 1st down and 10. And now the only thing that's going to help the Ravens is a turnover, a fumble or a pick. Goff, little spin move, and then throw to the sideline, incomplete. Flag on the play. Illegal contact on Humphrey. 5-yard penalty. Automatic first down. 1st down and 10 at the Detroit 25. And, obviously it shows you how the Detroit Lion D-line is overachieving as well. being able to stop King Henry on the goal line multiple times. That definitely takes a few beast players to do that. Shotgun set, first down and 10. Pressure on the edge. Goff avoiding the pressure, rolling to his left, and throwing it out of bounds. Incomplete. Second down and 10. And you don't want to just pass. I know there's only a minute 18 left, but you're going to have to run the ball, to keep the defense honest as well, at least once. But if the Ravens end up losing this game, it'll be based off that decision that was made there by the Baltimore Ravens on the goal line. Second down and 10. 3 wide receiver set. Ravens showing blitz. And throws into the turf as he gets crushed by Owe. It's a forward pass. Why would they be calling that like it's a fumble? Ravens fans booing like that's actually a fumble. Roquan Smith on the blitz. I mean, I'm hoping that we can do that. I mean, no one really thought we were going to be able to sweep the Astros, but based on how we're playing, I mean, there's a good possibility that we actually could do that. But I think going 5-1, is what we'll be shooting for. But if we win the first 2 games against the Dodgers, then, and we sweep the Rockies, we're going to have a chance to go 6-0 in these last 6 games. And I believe that would put us at like 93 wins, which would be insane. And a big tackle there by Wiggins and great defense by Baltimore to prevent Detroit from getting a field goal or a touchdown. And let's see if we can actually get Baltimore to get it in the end zone or a field goal here before half. But it's nice to be able to see the Mariners be as good as they are. Best team we've had since 2001, Ichiro's rookie year, and we're going to go farther than that team did. And we did win 1 playoff series against the Blue Jays in 2022, and I'm hoping that we can end up going to the distance. We have World Series aspirations. Fox with the punt, almost blocked. Flag is out. And a good tackle there by the Lions special teams. 56 seconds left here in the second quarter. Let's see what the flag is about. Holding on the kicking team. Yards will be added on to the end of the run. Stewart with the hold. All right, great field position by the Ravens. They will definitely, more than likely, will get a field goal, but they'll be shooting for the tie and the touchdown here with 1:05 left. Let's see how good the 2-minute drill is for Lamar, and hopefully they'll have some better coaching and play calling in place for the Ravens. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train. And we'll be looking for 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. And it's crazy. Amon-Ra St. Brown hasn't even really been targeted, and they still got that 14-7 lead. Lots of weapons on both of these teams. But I assume Amon-Ra will get in on the action in the second half. Yeah, 6:40 Pacific. I will be live. Yeah, we'll be doing all of the Mariner games. I mean, even though the Ducks and Penn State is a huge game, but I'll just watch that in the studio. But we'll do the Mariner games, all 6 of them, and then every playoff game that we're in, we'll do all of them. So I'll Obviously, I've dedicated a lot of my blood, sweat, and tears, to many, many different teams and many, many sports. But, the Mariners is really what, helped us kind of break out. So we're going to stay committed to them. (14-7) Lions. First down and 10 at the Detroit 49. Only a couple first downs. They'll be in field goal range, which they should have already done already, but they got greedy. And we'll see if Harbaugh will be smarter this time around with a second chance to be able to tie the game up. Yeah, I'll be pulling for you guys. Like I said, it would be sweet if the Ducks and the Huskies could upset the Buckeyes and the Nittany Lions. It's going to be hard, though. But if there were teams that could actually do it this year, it's both the Huskies and Ducks. I mean, they're very solid, both teams. First down and 10, shotgun set for Lamar. Shotgun set. Pressure up the middle. Lamar takes off. And he's running towards the sideline. First down, Ravens. Move the chains. Beautiful run there for 13 yards to the Detroit 36. Reed with the tackle from the Ravens. Or from the Lions, excuse me. First down and 10, Baltimore. And if you're going to play a man-to-man, Lamar will take advantage. First down and 10, shotgun set. And a little check down. He's looking for somebody and has to check it down there. And Justice Hill, 4-yard gain. Campbell with the tackle. Second down and 6 at the Detroit 32. 48 seconds, now 38 seconds and counting. Here in the second quarter, Lions up by 7. Yeah, I mean, 2 in the country. Anytime you're in the top 5, yeah, they are very, very good. I mean, Buckeyes are at the top, and Penn State's right below them. So nice, Sarah. Nice to be able to see, Daniel Jones step up, and you guys are 3-0, and life is good. Nice sideline throw there. DeAndre Hopkins, 13 yards to the Detroit 19. First down, Ravens. I'll be honest, for not being able to do it, I may not do it ever again. Like the peace that I have by not having to worry about injuries and spending 4 or 5 hours, of my life every day, going through everyone's roster and spying on everybody and going through the wire. It's kind of refreshing. So I only have to focus on the Buccaneers, and that's it. And I know I'm good at fantasy and I enjoy competing with people, but the feeling that I have by not doing it is like, it's kind of magical, honestly. Floater towards the sideline, incomplete. Flag on the play. First down and goal at the Detroit 3 there. Arnold with the pass interference, and they're chirping between Arnold and D-Hop. Because normally when I'm doing fantasy, it's like I'm still watching the Bucks games, but my full focus isn't really, my mind is going like in 10 different places, following all the players, my bench, everyone else's team. And, I really love it. But, considering like the Mariners and everything else I got going on, I just wouldn't have, the full focus this year, considering I got all these other things going on with the Ducks and the Mariners. And it just feels good, everyone that ends up doing it, and if it is something that they enjoy, keep doing it. But for me, doing it for like 15, 20 years straight, and then now not having to worry about it, it's really refreshing. It's like I'm on a vacation. First and goal, man in motion, little play action. There we go. Touchdown, Ravens. Rashad Bateman, and that was the play call that they probably should have done on the previous drive. Nice job there by Baltimore. And if they would have kicked the field goal, they would be up 17-14 right now. Daniel Jones for insurance. He's playing great. You know, like I said, the only 4 quarterbacks that don't have an interception so far: Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Daniel Jones. So again, pretty cool. Extra point is up and good. You've had 1 punt, so far in the first 3 games. Again, your offense is rolling. My offense is rolling. And again, it's like, for, Ravens fans and Bills fans, yeah, you have Lamar and you have Josh Allen, but, even Baker Mayfield isn't getting enough love as much as he deserves. And obviously we know Daniel Jones was, considered kind of an average to below average player, for New York. But also what's helping you guys out is Jonathan Taylor is running like Saquon. So he's had 2 great running backs in his career. And obviously if you have a good running game, that'll open up the passing game, and then he'll be able to get more comfortable. Offensive line has done well. Defense has done well. And again, there's a reason why teams are 3-0. And out of all the teams that are undefeated, I really feel that the only pretender is the Niners. Everyone else is like legit. The Eagles are legit. The Buccaneers are legit. Niners, not so much. Colts, I believe, are legit. Obviously, the Bills are legit, and the Chargers are legit. And the Chargers and the Colts should be the front runners for their division. And you assume that the Ravens will win theirs, and the Bills will win theirs. So, and then you assume it'll be Bucks, Eagles, Lions, or Packers, and then maybe Rams or Seahawks in the NFC West when it all shakes out. So. And Baker is the perfect type of personality, kind of fiery, which matches my personality as well. And, again, he's mature but fiery, a great leader. And again, I wouldn't want any other quarterback, to be able to, represent this team. We've been incredibly blessed to go from Brady to Baker. And, I had Brad Johnson. So I don't know what it is about the Bees, but we got something cooking. See what we get here in the return. And a good return there by Khalif Raymond for 30 yards. First down and 10 at the Detroit 33. And they'll see if they can get a late field goal here. 7-2 and 7-2 on Monday Night Football. 19 tutties to 6 picks. Look at Lamar. 22 touchdowns and no picks. That's fucking insane. I'm happy for your Colts. I'm happy for your fantasy. It's a special year this year. That's for sure. I mean, this is the first time that the Ducks, Bucks, and Mariners have been good since 2001, and I'm here for it. First down and 10, shotgun set. Goff steps up in the pocket, little check down, and a good tackle there, and timeout is called. Great game so far. I knew this was going to be a fantastic back and forth game. Defenses, we're going to get beat up a little bit. This would be an offensive oriented game. And, I love defense, but I don't want to necessarily watch a football game that's going to be 9-6 and it's just like field goals. I want to be able to see some big plays, and you're going to get them from both of these offenses, right? Goff, right? Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. Amon-Ra St. Brown hasn't even got the ball yet. Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta. And then you go on the flip side. You got Lamar, Action Jackson, King Henry, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, there is no love lost based off talent. I mean, there's so much talent on the field here. Now, we're going to win the division. It's about how far are we going to go. And if we can end up getting a bye, with us and the Blue Jays with a bye, and, if the Astros don't make the playoffs, that wouldn't hurt my feelings. But I'm definitely excited about the opportunity on going on a deep run. And, obviously Phillies and Brewers and Cubs and Dodgers are dangerous. Padres and, I don't know if the Reds are going to take that last spot from the Mets and whatnot. But I think that, we know who the powerhouse teams are. And then obviously you got the Astros and the Guardians, Yankees and Red Sox. But, those teams and then the Tigers are kind of hitting a wall right now. And if they keep losing, the Tigers might not even make it, so we'll see how that goes. But they were so strong for such a good chunk of the year, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Third down and 3, shotgun set. They haven't gone to Amon-Ra St. Brown at all, and timeout is called. Detroit definitely needs more than 4-yard completions. I agree. And when you got a guy that can take the top off of the defense, like, Jamison Williams, go deep, or run like a flea flicker, right? A little hitch route to Amon-Ra, and then a flip back to Jamison Williams down the sideline. You could score a touchdown off that. Again, easier said than done. You need protection up front. But with 7 seconds left, doing a 4-yard pass ain't going to cut it. I agree. And again, if you want to be able to go deep, you either run a go route with Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra. Hopefully they jump up and catch it. Or you run kind of like a hitch and go and a little, trick play. A flea flicker ain't going to get it done, but we'll see what we get here. They got to get into field goal range. Man in motion. 3rd down and 3. Shotgun set. Ravens only bring in 3. Nice catch there. And timeout is called. And they got 2 seconds left. Finally, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And again, when you have so many weapons, it seems like he's the guy that is a lot of times the odd man out, which is unfortunate because he's so good. Bots in full force. Career long for Bates is 58. Ravens with the timeout. And if the Ravens would have took the field goal when the field position was there, they'd be up 17-14 right now. And it kind of feels like whoever has the ball last could win. But, I think Harbaugh overall is a good leader and overall a pretty good coach. But, based on him and the offensive coordinator and their decision-making skills, that's what's really going to cost them a chance, to be the AFC representative or a Super Bowl, contender. I mean, they're still going to be, the top team, with the Bills and the Chargers and the Colts, but again, if you play with that type of strategy against the Bills, they're going to beat you again. You have to take the points while they're there. Stop being greedy. This is not like NFL Blitz. It's not a video game. And Harbaugh has lost more games for the Ravens in those type of situations than any coach in the NFL in the last few years. 67-yard attempt. He ain't going to make this. No way in hell. 0% chance of making this. Kick is up and no good. Not even close. All right, good game here. 14-4. You have a better chance of going like a Hail Mary and scoring that way than that. Like, why do that? And Ravens are going to get the ball. All right, we got about 12 minutes before we get into the third quarter, so luckily it's not too long. And obviously we'll be doing Mariners and Rockies on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Mariners and Dodgers, and I'm very excited about that. (11-2) record in primetime games since 2021. Dan Campbell, that is amazing. Perfect coach for that team. A 98-yard drive for a tutty, huh? Montgomery's got you 12. Nice. And we'll be able to see some highlights and a little bit of coverage while the players end up getting a quick break. Baltimore will receive the second half kickoff. Jared Goff, 135 passing yards to Lamar's 98. David Montgomery with 31 on the ground. Henry with 41. Receiving yard leaders, Walker with 34 and Williams with 43. 1 sack lunch for Campbell on the Lions. And solo tackle Starks, the safety, has 7 for the Ravens, 4 for Barnes on the Lions. So again, a coaching bugaboo. Obviously, when they were in the red zone, they should have taken the 3, and they decided to get greedy, and they got nothing, but they're still tied up 14-14, so they're still in the mix to obviously win this game. Defensive line's getting exposed, for both teams on certain drives and whatnot. But I mean, when you got Gibbs, Montgomery, and Henry, I mean, that's pretty sexy, hard to beat. We got 9 minutes to go before we get into the third quarter. Go grab a water here real quick while we have a few minutes, and we'll get into the second half here in just a second. All right, 8 minutes to go. I'm glad that halftime isn't too long, for college football and NFL. It's nice to be able to kind of jump right back into the games. Obviously, they need to be able to change their cleats and, get a snack, hit the bathroom, whatnot, and get situated, a little game plan and whatnot. And definitely a much more entertaining game than that Vikings-Falcons game. And obviously the Bucs and the Texan game was, right down to the wire. And really every Buccaneer game in the first 3 games has been insane. And I'm really looking forward to the matchup this weekend. Bucs and the Eagles, both 3-0. Bucs are at home, so I like our chances on trying to go to 4-0. And, it's going to be a very tough battle. We know how good the Eagles are. They should have lost to the Rams yesterday, but they had a monster comeback and, blocked a field goal for a touchdown for the win. And same thing happened with the Jets and the Bucs, but they left Baker like 2 minutes after they did that play. And Baker with 2 minutes is better than anybody in the NFL right now. So nice to be able to see Baker in the MVP conversation. And I'm very happy that we're 3-0 with 3 out of 5 starters on the O-line injured, which is insane. We could easily be 1-2 right now. And, Mike Evans got a little hamstring issue. We should be getting Wirfs and Godwin back, hopefully this weekend, and we'll see where it all kind of goes. And then next week, there's a doubleheader. And obviously that Bengals-Bronco game will be the game that we do. Good Charlotte there. Seven and 1 in the last 8 starts for Jared Goff. Oh, Chris Berman, love him. Miss him and Tom Jackson when they would talk football together. The fastest 3 minutes. He loves Baker. We're playing some really exciting football, let me tell you. All right, Berman, show me. The fastest 3 minutes. The best 3 minutes in football. Rams, Eagles. Play action fake there by Stafford. 26-7 Rams. How do you not win when you're up 26-7 coaching? Slim Reaper, Devontae. Blocked field goal. Jordan Davis rumbling and bumbling. He got almost to 19 miles per hour on that, and they win 33-26 at the last play of the game. Jets and Bucs wearing the best throwbacks with those whites. Blocked field goal. And they're going to bring that to the house. Aaron Glenn was loving it, but if you give Baker 2 minutes, Emeka, rookie of the year, baby. 29-27 Bucs. Niners kicking the field goal against the Cardinals. Crazy that the Cardinals are 2-1, Niners 3-0, but kind of soft schedules for both. This was a must-win game for Denver, and obviously with Herbert, late inning heroics, late quarter heroics, and a big touchdown there. Colts, Jonathan Taylor rumbling and a bumbling. Spin move. You can't guard me. See ya. To the house. 41-20. Indianapolis. 3-0. Love it. And we thought Green Bay was supposed to be one of the best teams in the land. How the fuck do you lose to the Browns? So that's what makes the NFL exciting. You never know what's going to happen on any given week. Must-win game for the Browns so they don't go to 0-3, and the Packers end up taking the L. Isaiah Rodgers had the game of the week, maybe the game of the year. 2 forced fumbles, fumble return, interception, 2 defensive touchdowns. Unreal. Michael Penix Jr., Falcons, I thought you were playoff contenders. Not when you lose 30-0 to the Panthers. Saints, another garbage team as well. Seahawks, bang, 44-13. Looking good. I see you, Seattle. Oh, little flea flicker. Caleb Williams says, Cowboys who? You're terrible. Bears 31, Cowboys 14. You know the Bears are some shit too. So what does that mean that the Cowboys are? You already know. Jaden Daniels, no problem. Marcus Mariota, the Commanders. See you later, Raiders. Commanders should be in the playoff hunt as well. Yeah, the blocked field goals was insane. Rodgers. 21-14 against the Pats, but the Pats are terrible. Jaguars beating the Texans. Texans 0-3. CJ Stroud, overrated. You know, had a great rookie season, but hasn't been the greatest in the last 2 years. Houston. NFL primetime. All right, we got 3 minutes to go when we're back into the action. Great fastest 3 minutes by Berman. I am thoroughly entertained. All right, we got 3 minutes to go, and it kind of feels like whoever has the ball last is going to end up winning the game. And, you know, too bad the Bucks and Eagle game isn't on Sunday Night Football. That would be must-see TV. 3-0, but again, we have had a pretty good record against them in the last couple of years. Now, if we were in Philadelphia, that would be a lot harder to win, but still winnable. But being at home, you know, that might be able to, you know, give us the edge. I would love to start off the season 4-0. Yeah, that blocked field goal on the Bucks too was the first blocked field goal for a touchdown in their 50-year existence. That's never happened before, you know, until yesterday. But thankfully, it wasn't the last play of the game. You know, the Rams, if they would have made that field goal, they would have won. That was to win the game, and they blocked it and ran it back for a tutty to win the game on the flip side. You know, and Philly is a very resilient team. They've already won the Super Bowl last year, and again, they look like they are obviously one of the major teams to beat. And you know, who knows? Are we going to get Eagles, Bills in the Super Bowl? We could. It's definitely possible. All right, 2 minutes to go. Baltimore is going to receive the second half kickoff, and we'll be live tomorrow for the Mariners and the Rockies at 6:40 Pacific. And I'll start making the thumbnails, you know, probably around, a couple hours before the game starts. And I'll be all locked and loaded. And then after that, we got a 3-game set against the Dodgers. $52 TDs and 11 picks, 20-6 and 26 career primetime games for Lamar, and Dan Campbell's 11-2 in primetime games as a Lions head coach. right, 1 minute to go. Glad that halftime is very, very short for the NFL games, which is nice. That way we can just jump back right into the action, and we'll see who wants it more here and who will have better coaching, especially down the stretch. We've already had one big mistake by the Ravens, and, they're not going to be able to afford to do that again. Saw the Star Wars Mandalorian and Grogu trailer that will be at IMAX in the theaters, not a show on like Disney Plus. It'll actually be a movie. I'm definitely going to that. That's going to be must-see TV for me. All right, 30 seconds to go. And we're about ready to get into the third quarter here with the Ravens receiving the second half kick. Crazy how fast the college football and the NFL season is going. In a blink of an eye, we're going to be halfway through the season. Another blink of an eye, we're going to be in the playoffs. So got to really soak in, every single game, not only for the Mariners on the MLB side for me and for a lot of y'all, but also, for the NFL and the college football season too. Best time of the year. And obviously, if you're an NBA or NHL fan, you'll be transitioning into that shortly as well. Zay Flowers and Amon-Ra haven't really been getting too many looks early on, but I assume that we will get both of those receivers more in the game plan here in the second half. Nice. Congratulations. That's awesome. I know your trip is coming up. I assume you watched the trailer that dropped this morning for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. That's going to be insane. I'm definitely going to go see that in IMAX when it comes out with my best friend. And we'll see it on opening night when it comes out next year. And here we go. Ravens with the return. Ali. Nice return for 26 yards. Love it with the tackle. And a nice 64-yard kick from Bates. First down and 10 for the Ravens at the Baltimore 27. Judah in the building. What's good? Yeah, it looks amazing. It's a short trailer. It's only like a minute or 2 minutes long, but it definitely is going to be, I thought at first it was going to be like a show, like on Disney Plus, and then it's like, oh, it's a movie. That is going to rake in so many dollars at the box office, because we haven't really had a Star Wars movie to watch in the theaters in years, and it is going to do amazing. Pedro Pascal, amazing. Grogu, amazing. Little check down, Henry. And a little short gain there. Rumbles and bumbles for 7. Gets tripped up by Campbell. Second down and 3 at the Baltimore 34. Yeah, hope you have a blast on your trip. Judah in the building. What's good? And again, a little bit of a coaching bugaboo by Harbaugh and the OC, being greedy, trying to be able to, go for the tutty instead of taking the field goal late. And we'll see if that'll come back to bite them, especially if the Lions end up winning this game by 3 or less. Handoff. And Henry stopped. 2-yard gain there. Campbell has been all over the field for the Lions. Third down and 1 at the Baltimore 36. Yeah, I've been trying to keep up with the social media with them and whatnot. Obviously, I have so many other things that are going on with Mariners and college football and NFL, but I have been seeing some stuff come up on my timeline, and I'm definitely peeking at some of the things that are going on with the Kraken and the Blazers for my end. Hopefully, Shane Wright will have a breakout year. Jared McCann. Obviously, Matty Beniers, and, we've gotten some new additions like Mason Marchment. And so it's nice to be able to see us getting players from good teams, and hopefully we have a great year this year. Flag on the play. Yes. Capo Caco. Yeah, that's going to be tough, Judah. That's not the team that you would want to be playing, Toronto or Seattle at this point. First down and 10. Lamar under center. Play action. Fake. Pass downfield. Almost intercepted. What happened to my hands? Oh, man. Branch almost had the pick there. I mean, the way that the Tigers have been hitting a wall, it's possible that they don't make the playoffs. Maybe the Astros don't make it, but we'll see how it goes. Could be Yankees, Red Sox, and Guardians. That could happen, but, we'll wait and see. But if the Tigers don't make the playoffs, it'll be like the biggest collapse in baseball for being like the top dog for the whole year until the very end. But you got to, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, right? Second down and 10. Lamar, little check down. And Mark Andrews is there, 4-yard gain. Campbell again with another tackle. Third down. 14-14, Ravens and Lions. Yeah, we're as hot as anybody right now. And there's a good chance that we sweep the Rockies, and if we win the first 2 games against the Dodgers, we might be able to sweep them, which would be fucking insane, but we got like the best home record out of any MLB team in the second half of the season. We're like 20-3. So, anything is possible if you got an insane record like that at home, Third down and 6. Flowers finally getting the ball there. 6-yard pass. First down, Ravens. Move the chains. I assume that Zay Flowers and Amon-Ra St. Brown will be getting more looks here in the second half. Yeah, but we've already had so many hard teams that we've had to battle, in the last 2 months. At some point, we were going to play a bad team, but then we end with the Dodgers, which for most people would be like, no, but I think it's great because it'll test us, as we go into the playoffs. You want to play a really good team late to see how you stack up, Little halfback dive there by Henry, 4-yard gain. Campbell again with another tackle. I mean, does anybody else tackle on the Lions besides him? Amazing. Second down and 6. See what Lamar has cooking here. Obviously, they've gained a little momentum with Uncle Mo here, trying to take the lead. Lamar under center. Lions bringing blitz. Floater, wide open. And Kohler with a nice catch of 18 yards. Joseph with the tackle. Not Campbell on that play. First down, Ravens. Move the chains. Nice job by Charlie. And both teams, at moments are playing man, and at times both teams are playing a soft zone. So if you can find the zone where, they're playing in an area, not a man, you just have to expose, the defense at that time. And both teams have done that today and have been pretty efficient when the zones have come up. You have the Jays and the Tigers. Wow, tough. Yeah. Now, these last 6 games for a lot of teams in the American League or National League are going to be crazy. It's going to be like maybe the most exciting last 6 games for MLB in a while, based on a lot of the movement and new teams kind of emerging. First down and 10. Lamar, play action fake, floater. He's open. Nice catch. Mark Andrews, 19 yards. First down, Ravens. Move the chains. Yeah, I mean, the same teams are still kind of in the mix with the Padres, Dodgers, and Yankees from last year. But there's some new teams, that are kind of emerging. Red Sox, Mariners, right? Blue Jays, Cubs. And so it's kind of nice. Brewers. So, the Phillies are normally in the mix as well. So, some of the regular teams from last year, but also some new teams, which is fun. First and goal. Ravens got the Uncle Mo now. Halfback toss. Oh, trick play. Floater. Oh, intercepted. Oh, incomplete. DJ Reed with a great play there to bat it down. Almost had a interception. What happened to my hands? You got to catch that. Detroit has had a couple drops on picks that could have been from Lamar today. Third and goal. Daniel in the building. What's good? Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have run a play like that. I mean, the play calling for the Ravens is what's going to cost them an opportunity to make the Super Bowl this year. Uh-oh, he's getting chased down. Oh, it's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. But again, it's like the Ravens have all these amazing players, but the thing that holds them back is Harbaugh and the OC. Again, there's just so many times where they have these terrible play calls where if they just were playing a little bit more smarter, with the play calling, they would be able to win games easier and not let teams hang around. But the decision-making has been pretty bad for Harbaugh and the OC the last few years. You expect more from this team, especially if you want to get past the Bills and the Chargers and the Colts, and the Chiefs are, looking a little bit weaker in years, pass, floater, touchdown, Ravens. Mark Andrews getting the football early and often, and Detroit does not have an answer there. And sometimes even when you have poor coaching or poor play calling, if you have the athletes, eventually you're going to get in the end zone. Lamar to Andrews. Touchdown. Extra point is up and good. A little slight push off there by Andrews, but anytime you have an athletic tight end against a linebacker, it's an advantage for the tight end. And great ball placement by Lamar, and that was the difference. Great catch by Andrews. 21-14, Ravens. Ravens, 8:51 left in the third quarter. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train. And we're looking for 2 subs to get to 22,100. And we typically are going for about 5 to 15. All right, take care. Have a great trip. Glad we're getting some offense, in this particular game, because watching the Falcons and Vikings, was not that much fun. But obviously Bucks and Texans was, it almost gives me, a heart attack every time, that we end up getting down and have to, come back with Baker and whatnot. But luckily he was able to find a way 3 weeks in a row. And we got the Eagles this weekend, who are also undefeated. I mean, we have 3 offensive lineman starters out. So for us to be 3-0 is insane. But again, the coaching has been great. Defense has stepped up, but it's really been the Baker Mayfield show. He is an MVP candidate this year, and it's just nice to be able to see us, balling out. NC in the building. Bryce Young playing well this year. And again, everyone thought, the Falcons, they're definitely going to be the second best team in the NFC South. Not when you lose 30-0 to the Panthers and you get a pick 6. That was beautiful, man. And again, it looks like the Panthers have a chance to be the second best team in the NFC South, maybe even over the Falcons, and we know the Saints are absolutely terrible. Appreciate you, Stacks, Rex, with a little Cactus Jack, bang, bang. And I'll get you a Bryce Young photo or two, but definitely like seeing his progression. And again, for Panther fans, they've been waiting on this moment for a while. I got a special one for you that I've been saving. Let's see if I can find it here. I figured at some point you would come through and some Panther fans would come through. I got a really dope collage for you. Flag on the play. Ball is on the 40 now. Ooh, baby. And again, anytime the collages come out, fire. Appreciate you, man. And then once we get into a commercial break, I'll see if I can plug in another photo or two for you. Are you able to kick it here for the rest of the game, or are you just dropping by? Yeah, you always got to come by, especially when things are going good, and you can beat a team that supposedly is going to threaten Tampa, which we know is not going to happen. I mean, more than likely, we're going to win the division this year, but it would be awesome for the Panthers to get second if they can find a way. But it would be a battle between you and the Falcons the rest of the season on who gets that 2 spot and who gets the 3. We obviously know the Saints are going to be the worst team, not only in the South, but maybe one of the worst teams in the NFL overall. So. But I hope you like that collage. And again, let me know if you're going to be staying for the rest of the game or not. And then I'll see if I can plug in a couple more if you got to go. If you're going to be here for the rest of the game, then I can get you a couple during the commercial breaks. 2nd down and 10. And this is got to be a drive where you get at least 3 here for the Lions. Handoff. And good vision there. Bouncing off a tackler and going down. Gibbs, 7-yard gain, 3rd down and 3 at the Detroit 47. We are at 10 on the Dono train, 90 to go. Appreciate you. I appreciate that, man. Let me see if I can find you another Bryce here before I go, or before you go, since you are just stopping by. Third down and 3. And caught! Nice job by Sam Laporta. But if you're just going to be stopping by, let me try to get you at least a couple nice ones here. And I look forward to kicking it with you when you have some more free time. Let me get you at least one more if you're dipping. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. I knew someone was going to come through and kind of get the party started. Home jersey, away jersey, right? And then the collage. Good luck this year, man. And I'll be rooting for you guys to, try to get that 2nd place spot with the Atlanta Falcons. 1st down and 10. Handoff up the middle. And the Raven O-line is getting exposed. 9-yard gain. Tackle by Kyle Hamilton. And he was doing that at Notre Dame and is doing it now for the Baltimore Ravens. Must score drive for the Lions. You have to get 3 here, to kind of cut into the bleeding out that you're doing right now. And if you can get a tutty, it may come down to whoever has the ball last to win the game here. Appreciate you, my guy. We're at 10, 90 to go. Second down and 1, and they're going to continue to pound the rock, which makes sense. Handoff, Gibbs again, finds the hole. Great vision. 1st down. Lions, move the chains. Yeah, but let's be honest. It may be, it may take a couple more years before we start talking about that. But, but we'll see. You never know. Falcons, Panthers, Seahawks, Commanders. There are going to be some teams that are looking at the wild card. And then obviously, Packers and Eagles. One team will win it. The other team will be wild card as well. So. But it kind of feels like you're probably only going to get one team in the West. Rams or Seahawks. Obviously, you're going to get the top dog and you'll have a team there. And, Bucks might be the only team in the South. And then all the other divisions, it may be 2. Goff Flea flicker. Oh, he's open. First down. Amon-Ra St. Brown with the catch. Move the chains. Yeah, but if you end up not getting the wild card this year, if you keep improving, it may be next year. So obviously things are going in the right direction for y'all. But we're trying to win the NFC South 5 years in a row, and we're 3-0. We got a lot of injuries, and again, if we beat the Eagles at home and we go 4-0, I mean, we're not just talking about winning the NFC South. We're going to try to make the NFC Championship game, against the Eagles, and if it's not them, Packers, Lions, Rams, whoever it may be. Goff, floater, back end zone, touchdown! Amon-Ra St. Brown, beautiful. Chef's kiss. And again, if you don't go to him early, you go to him late. I imagine Zay Flowers will be getting in the end zone maybe on this next drive or sometime today. Beautiful. Extra point is up and good. 21-21, an amazing game here between the Lions and the Ravens. Defense, not so much, but offense for both teams is amazing. Great throw, great catch. Touchdown, Lions. Beautiful. Great game. Must score drive for Detroit, and they ain't capitalized. Fun game, man. I mean, that's why the NFL is great, because again, every single week it's a time to prove yourself. But the reason why the NFL a lot of times is, the king is that if you look at the league overall, like even the worst teams in the NFL, sometimes will have a chance against teams that are in the middle or at the top. I mean, obviously the Saints look terrible. So obviously that's one thing, but, and the Dolphins don't look very good either, and neither do the Texans and a few other teams. But, you never know when you could look like garbage, one week and look amazing the next, There's a lot of parity in the NFL. I mean, compared to like the NBA, the NHL, and the MLB. Like you look at the top teams and, obviously the bottom teams, there's a little bit more disparity there, and there's a little bit, more top heavy in those leagues. But in the NFL, even the shittiest teams at the bottom, can end up beating a middle of the pack team or a top dog once in a while. But gosh, some of the teams this year in the NFL are really bad. Yeah, but Packers had no business losing to, the Browns, but I guess that's, how the cookie crumbles. And then the Falcons looking, pretty good, in the first couple weeks of the season. And then, dropping a game to the Panthers, but not only dropping a game to the Panthers, scoring 0. 0. That's a little eyebrow raising, because we thought, maybe the Falcons are a wild card team. But if you lose 30-0 to the Panthers, I don't know if we can say that. I mean, it's early in the season, but, there shouldn't be any team that's in the playoffs that gets a 0. That's very alarming. But we'll see if they can bounce back, as we go further into the schedule. But obviously for the Panthers and NC Jolly, that was a huge moment. Not only winning against a rival, but beating their ass 30-0. Shocking. Big drive there by Jared Goff and the Goffense to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who only had really one look in the first half. Zay Flowers, another individual that hasn't really been getting the looks. They've been going heavy tight ends, heavy in the running game with the running backs, with Gibbs, Montgomery, and King Henry. But again, if you're going to go to Amon-Ra on one side, then I would assume Zay is going to get in the end zone either this quarter or in the fourth. It's just a matter of time. They're too good of receivers to not get the ball. Amon-Ra and Zay. 21-21 with 5:13 left here in the third. And it's a great game here on Monday night. What's up with all these kickoffs going out of bounds? You're just giving the team an opportunity to get a good score. Ravens did it, and now the Lions do it. Unbelievable. Game now starts at the 40. I'm looking forward to us playing you guys after you guys won 30-0 against Atlanta. I'm curious to see how that will play out. It's always tough when we play you guys. Like, we could end up having, an amazing record, and you guys could have a couple wins and we could have like 11 and you guys could still beat us, or we would barely beat you at the end. But we'll see how it plays out this year. First down and 10, screen pass. And there's Zay Flowers. 7-yard gain with that screen. Branch with the tackle by the Lions. Second down and 3 for the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, I bet. Appreciate your support to the channel, my guy. It means everything. Thank you. Every dollar adds up and counts. Second down and 3. Lamar under center. Play action fake. Bootleg. Uh-oh. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a Lion sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Lamar hanging on to the football way too long. Muhammad with the sack lunch. Loss of 7. Big defensive momentum shift. Third down and 10 at the Baltimore 40. Chuba Hubbard. Yeah. No, I understand. Who are the players that I need to be looking out for besides Bryce, getting better year in and year out? Anyone else that you have been surprised with based on watching that game yesterday against the Falcons? Like, who else is breaking out for you guys this year other than Bryce Young? Lamar on third down and 10, little check down. Zay Flowers incomplete. And now it's fourth down and 10, and the Ravens are going to have to punt. Intended receiver was Rashad Bateman. Great defense there by Hutchinson and company. And they got a few studs on that side of the ball. Branch, Hutch, and a few others like Campbell. Big 3 and out there by that Lion D. And 56-yard punt. They are downed by more. Oh, over his head. Wow. Walker's there. Great punt, special teams by Baltimore, pinning the Detroit Lions to the 4-yard line, but that's no problem for them. They got pinned at the 2 in the first half and went 98 fucking yards for a tutty. So we'll see what we get here. McMillan. Yeah, the draft pick. Uh-oh. What happened with him? What was the injury with him? Like hamstring? Yeah, McMillan gives you that big-bodied receiver that you guys have been lacking, going back to like the Mushin Muhammad and Steve Smith, senior days. It's like you got to make sure, you have somebody that Delhomme could throw to. And again, you want to have a short receiver that's tough, that's a dog like Smith. And then you want to have that big body receiver like Mushin Muhammad, and McMillan fits that athletic build. And yeah, I'm excited to go on him one-on-one. Obviously with the defensive pieces that we have. Antoine Winfield Jr. is healthy this year, looking like one of the best safeties in the league. And, Zion McCollum and a few of the other guys have been pretty good. Jamel Dean had a pick 6, obviously yesterday, which was amazing. And I'm definitely looking forward to the matchup. I love NFC South matchups. Bucks Panthers, Bucks Falcons, Bucks Saints. It just sucks that the Saints are so terrible now. Again, they were like our top rival for quite a few years in that Drew Brees era and post Drew Brees era, but now they're openly tanking without saying they're tanking, and they're trying to get the first pick in the draft, and they are really bad this year. But I'm not surprised, and a lot of their studs are getting older. AK-41, Alvin Kamara getting older, Demario Davis getting older, Cameron Jordan getting older. So really looking forward to playing McMillan and watching McMillan this year. 21-21, Lions and Ravens were knotted up. And we're 2 subs away from 22,100. So again, if you are in the room and haven't hit the sub button yet, that would be great. We need one more sub now. Now we're at 22,099. 1 sub to go. And we just hit 22,000 just like a couple days ago. So we are definitely on a very good pace here as of late. One sub away from 22,100. Let's go. And we're at 10 on the Dono train, 90 to go. First down and 10, 1-1. Detroit Lions, 1-1. Baltimore Ravens. The Lions should have beat the Packers, but they dropped that game. And then the Ravens should have won against the Bills, and they dropped that game. So, again, both of these teams could be 2-0 right now, but they both will be playoff teams in 2025. There's no doubt about that. Is that it just depends if the Lions win the division or if the Packers do. And then the Ravens should end up winning their division there in the AFC North. David Montgomery rumbling and a bumbling there. Nice. I'll be looking forward to that too. Yeah. No, I hear you. First down and 10, Goff and the Goffense. Let's see if they can actually respond here. I mean, the field goal party has not been invited. It's been all touchdowns. And past Amon-Ra St. Brown out of reach. But the cool thing about Detroit is they're always disciplined with the running game and the passing game. They're never going to be one-sided. And they shouldn't be when you got guys like Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. You know, you pound the rock and you keep the defense honest. Second down and 10. Goff hands off to Montgomery. Breaks one tackle, two tackles. Oh, he's getting loose. The 30, the 40, the 50. They're chasing him down. The 20. Stiff arm. Wow. Big gain there. 70-plus yards. David Montgomery. Wow. And the Ravens' defensive line is getting exposed. Unbelievable run. And just like that, the Lions are threatening to score again. Cat in the building. What's good? Great blocking up front by Penei Sewell and company for that Lion offensive line that lost Ragnow, their center. And again, offensive line is not as good as last year's, but great blocking up front. Wow. And he gets chased from behind. First down and 10. 72-yard rush by Montgomery. They give him a breather. Gibbs. And a nice 5-yard gain. Second down and 5 for the Lions. And it feels like they are getting closer here of punching it in. Less than a minute 30 and counting. Second down and 5. Jared Goff and the Goffense. Been very efficient. Same thing with Lamar and the Ravens. Second down and 5. Play action fake. A little check down to Laporta. And that's a short gain. 2-yard pass. Martin with the tackle by the Ravens. Third down and 3 at the Baltimore 6. Where do you go here? And timeout is called. You got to figure it out. You know, do you go to like some kind of trick play with Jamison Williams? Do you look for Amon-Ra, doing a slant or a fade route, which he already scored one touchdown in? Do you go to Laporta, who more than likely will be open on a linebacker? Or do you just pound the rock with Montgomery or Gibbs and just keep pounding it and, punch it into the end zone? You have a lot of questions here, and you have to be efficient. And it feels like, if they get stopped here, they won't go for it. You assume that Campbell will take the 3, but he does like going for it on fourth down. So we will find out. It has been a touchdown party here so far with no field goal attempts. I mean, the Ravens ended up leaving points on the board in the first half where they should have kicked the field goal and been up 24-21 at this point. But we will see if they end up having the Chip Kelly syndrome and they end up just going for 6 pretty much on every drive for both teams the rest of the way. 3rd down and 4. 21-21, Ravens and Lions in a shootout. And I assume they're going to pound the rock here. Handoff, Gibbs, and falls down. Gets stuffed by the Ravens there, gain of 2, and now it's 4th and 1, and the quarter is running out, and that is the end of the 3rd quarter. And again, if you're smart, you take the 3. But again, these guys like to gamble, Harbaugh and Campbell. So again, you would assume if you end up going for it, I mean, the Ravens already went for it on 4th down in the 2nd quarter and got stuffed. You do have Montgomery and Gibbs that could, get you the 1st down. Now, if it's me, I would do a QB sneak with Goff. Obviously a little bit bigger and taller than Lamar. And if you do a QB sneak, you'll probably get the 1st down. If you hand it off to Gibbs or Montgomery, there's a chance that you don't get the 1st down and turn the ball over. So, smart move, kick the 3, but these teams are greedy. So I assume they'll go for it. And if I was, the offensive coordinator, QB sneak with Goff, you're getting the 1st down. And then the next play, you can end up going to, Montgomery or Gibbs for the tutty. We'll see if that ends up happening. Great game so far. 21-21, Lions and Ravens. And again, when they do, they don't even need to do the tush push with Goff. He's tall enough where he can lean forward. But again, if you end up running the ball, you do have a chance of getting stuffed. And when you're on the 4-yard line, I'm not sure if I would really want to throw it, to Laporta or Amon-Ra or Jameson Williams, which you could, obviously get a touchdown. Those guys are good enough. But will the offensive line, be able to hang on, for enough time to, go through your progressions? That's the question. So QB sneak would be my call. Great game here so far. 4th quarter about to start, and we're knotted up at 21, and it really feels like whoever has the ball last is going to win the game. Both teams are 1-1. Lions lost to the Packers, and they got beat up in that game. Ravens lost to the Bills in a game that they should have won, controlled it for 3.5 quarters, and let the Bills win. So both teams could be 2-0. Both teams are playoff teams. Both teams are desperate. They don't want to go to 1-2. And even if the Lions go to 1-2, they're still making the playoffs. If the Ravens go to 1-2, they're still making the playoffs. It's just kind of for pride at this point and wanting to keep up with the undefeated teams, right? The Bills undefeated. The Chargers undefeated. The Colts undefeated. The Eagles undefeated. The Bucks undefeated. Niners undefeated. But again, there's one team out of those 6 that doesn't belong. That's a pretender, not a contender, and that's the Niners. And they just lost Nick Bosa for the year. And they don't have Kittle. They don't have Brock Purdy. They're finding ways to win games with fucking Mac Jones. But again, the schedule has been pretty easy for them. And we'll see how it all plays out moving forward. Still think the Rams are the best team in the NFC West, but the Seahawks are nipping at their heels. And eventually the Niners will start dropping games, and it'll be a very competitive NFC West. And Cardinals are playing better football than expected. All right, here we go. 4th and 1. Let's see what they decide to do. I would run QB sneak. Let's see what they implement here, and let's see if the Raven defense can make a big play. Hand off to Gibbs. Touchdown, Lions. Good blocking up front by the Lions, and the Raven defensive line getting pushed around. That was a huge play on 4th down and 1. A handoff and then a pitch. What a good trick play there by Detroit. Beautiful. That was a beautiful trick play there by the Lions. Extra point is up and good. 28-21 Detroit. They are thirsty for this win. Little gadget play. Hands it off, then you get a pitch. So he handed it off to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he pitched it to Gibbs. And again, if they would have did a halfback dive, I don't think they would have gotten in the end zone, but that was a beautiful play call. Nice job by Amon-Ra with a good pitch. Otherwise that play isn't successful. What a great game. 28-21 Lions. Let's see if the Ravens can respond here in the 4th quarter. Ravens have given up, what, 290-yard drives plus? And they had a 98-yard drive for a touchdown, and now it's another 90-plus yard drive. Crazy. 7 plays, 96 yards. So they had a 96-yard drive and a 98-yard drive. Lions are cooking on the road. Unbelievable. (28-21) Detroit. And we will be doing the Mariners and the Rockies on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at home at T-Mobile. And then we're going to be doing the Mariners and the Dodgers for the last 3 games of the regular season on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then when we get into Monday, we will do, I would assume, Monday Night Football. And again, we'll be, kind of seeing how the seeding is going to go for the MLB playoffs, which will be very exciting. And these last 6 games for many, many teams. And then on the weekend, we got the Ducks going to Penn State in a whiteout. That will be interesting. We got the Huskies playing the Buckeyes. I'll definitely be watching those games on Saturday, and there'll be a lot of other amazing games on Sunday, like the Buccaneers 3-0 against the Eagles that are 3-0 in Tampa. So obviously the undefeated teams are going to be dwindling down here in the next few weeks, but hopefully when it's all said and done, I'll be 4-0 and the Eagles will be 3-1, but it'll be very, very tough, considering most people think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC, and that's completely fine. We have overachieved with injuries galore. 3 of our starting offensive linemen out of our 5 are injured. Evans, has a little bit of a hammy. We haven't had Wirfs or Godwin all year, and we're still 3-0. And Baker has led 3 comebacks in the last 2 minutes in the last 3 games. So Baker Mayfield is in the MVP conversation, and he looks amazing this year. All right, Bates with the kickoff, and Ali with a 14-yard run return, and Yasin with the tackle there. 28-21 Lions. All right, Lamar, you got to be able to get Zay Flowers the ball. I mean, obviously you've been going heavy Mark Andrews, and you can always go with Derrick Henry, but again, you're going to have to be able to get a few of the others, Bateman involved, right? DeAndre Hopkins involved, but primarily Zay Flowers is that guy that could really open the game up besides Derrick Henry. And if I was the Ravens, I would be looking at some RPOs and getting some rushing yards with Lamar. You got to be able to use those legs in the fourth quarter. If there's a time to use them, it would be now. Let's see if the Lion defense can force a stop, or if the Ravens can impose their will again and tie this game up. $15 for $18, 170 yards, 2 tutties, but only 25 rushing yards. And for the Ravens, if they're going to win this game, Lamar's going to have to be over 50 rushing yards, I think, in this game. Shotgun set, Lamar. And there's Lamar with a short keeper. Second down and long. 2nd and 7. And obviously, if there's a turnover here in the fourth quarter, that could be the difference in this game. We haven't seen a lot of interceptions or fumbles. It's been a pretty clean game so far. Offense is dominating the defensive lines. Lamar with a little bootleg, sideline throw to Zay Flowers, incomplete. 3rd down and 7. And they definitely need a big first down here. Whether it be Bateman, whether it be DeAndre Hopkins, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews. Yeah, Andrews has been getting involved quite often today. It's much better than what we were seeing last year, where Mark Andrews was kind of a second thought. 3rd down and 7, trips right. Man in motion. Shotgun set. Lions bringing 5 Floater, wow! Passing it into the crease in that soft zone. First down, Rashad Bateman. 19-yard gain to the Lion 49. Move the chains. That was pretty. Threw it right in the breadbasket, right there. Beautiful throw and great protection up front by the Ravens offensive line. Pretty throw. First down and 10. Handoff, toss to Henry. And the Lions converging pretty quickly there. But we got a flag on the play. That looks like it's on Detroit. Let's see if we get a low block. Low block. Wow. Is that on Branch? Damn. Big penalty for Detroit. And that's going to move the Ravens closer into field goal range, but they want tutties. We're not kicking field goals in this game. Toby in the building. What's good, brother? Yeah, questionable penalty call there on Branch. I would agree with that too. First down and 10. 28-21 Lions. Offenses are imposing their will. Jared Goff in the Goffense. Lamar Action Jackson in the Ravens. This has been a very entertaining game, which I knew it would be. False start. Uh-oh. Kohler jumped. First down and 15. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if you guys can catch up to the Colts. Obviously, the Texans don't look good, and the Titans are terrible. So, obviously, at this point, you know, you're going to be in second place, more than likely, in the division. And it'll be a battle between you and the Colts, you know, to see who ends up being the top dog in the AFC South this year. Obviously, Colts 3-0 with Danny Dimes looking amazing. A change of scenery sometimes will help, even for a guy that is considered not that good or average, looking pretty good this year. Lamar, floater, sideline, incomplete. DeAndre Hopkins, the intended receiver there. Second down and 15 at the Detroit 36. Now, obviously, right now, the Bills, the Colts, the Chargers are the top dogs in the AFC. And then the Eagles, the Buccaneers, and obviously the Niners in the NFC as far as like undefeated, you know, records. And we will see how that plays out moving forward. Second down and 15. Got to get a big first down on this drive. Lamar, looking. What a throw, wide open, first down, Ravens. Rashad Bateman with the big catch. First down, Ravens. Move the chains. Well, I hope you beat them. Good luck, man. I hope you guys get the dub. Are you guys at home or on the road? First down and 10. Andrews in motion, blitz off the edge. Lamar with a keeper and tackled from behind. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Yeah, they just lost Bosa for the year. Gain of 1. Close to a sack lunch. Critical drive here for the Ravens because they're not kicking field goals. Yeah, injuries have been brutal this year. Lamar. Oh, blitz off the edge. And got him. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Big sack lunch there. Loss of 4. Nowoski says not today. After Niners, you guys got the Chiefs. And obviously the Chiefs don't look as good as they have in years past. So there is a chance that you could win against the Niners and maybe keep a game a little bit closer than people are anticipating. You know, a lot of people will say, oh, Chiefs are going to win. But if the Jags come off to a fast start, they're going to have a chance, especially if Travis Hunter is a factor. 3rd down and 13. Ravens in trouble here. Shotgun set, pressure off the edge again. And another sack lunch. Wow. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Another sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Lions defense is flying. Barnes that time. And again, the Ravens, their problem with this elite team is coaching and play calling. That's the problem. You know, they can always be one of the top 2, top 3 teams, but late in games, they find a way to blow games in like the worst fucking ways. They blew it against the Bills, and they might blow it here against the Lions. Wow. They need to start investing more in the offensive line, let me tell you. Field goal attempt is up, and it is good. Tyler Loop, and they could have had a field goal in the first half, but they decided to go for it, and they got skunked. And now they are down by 4, and the Lions are going to try to put this game away with a touchdown on this next drive. Almost missed that field goal too. Monday Night Football, nice. Well, if the Mariners aren't playing on that particular day, I'll be doing that game. So Mariners are going to be the priority, you know, and obviously I'll do NFL as second priority, and then third priority will be like the Ducks. But I'm even doing Mariners and Dodgers over Ducks and Penn State because they're going to overlap. So I'll watch that in the studio on my own time, and you know, we're going to do streams where people are going to support the most. So, you know, we'll be doing Sunday night, Monday night games, you know, an occasional Thursday night game, even though the Thursday night schedule has been kind of shitty, and it typically has been shitty for the last couple of years. But once we get into December, the Thursday night schedule gets better, and we'll see kind of where it goes. But it's like the first time that my 3 teams are like all elite at the same time. Mariners going to the playoffs, Bucks and Ducks both undefeated. It's a fun time for me. This is the best time that I've had maybe since 2001. That might be the last time that all 3 of my teams were good. And then I don't expect a whole lot from the Kraken and the Blazers this year, but I'm going to hope for the best. But, you know, who knows? Will they make the playoffs? Probably not. Blazers and the Kraken. But Blazers will have a chance for the 8 seed. Kraken, I don't know. That's too early to tell, but we'll find out. We were 1 sub away from 22,100. Did we get it? And we got it. There we go. Thank you to the new subs. Now we need 100 more now to get to 22,200. Shout out to all the new subs that we've acquired here today. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train. We're at 1090 to go. And we've gained a few subs. Normally we go for 5 to 15. And then once we hit that, we'll go to, 20 to 30, depending on the volume. Shout out to all the new subs. Shout out to all the people that have liked the stream and shared the stream. And shout out to all the people that have donated as well. Luke kicked 60 yards and a 30-yard return there. Sailors. And now it's 1st down and 10 at the Detroit 35, and the Ravens defense has not been able to stop the Lions. And the last time the Lions came into Baltimore 2 years ago, they lost like 33-6. So the Lions want payback, and they want revenge, and it shows. They look like more of the focused team that wants this more. The play calling and the coaching has been better for Detroit here today. And you definitely don't want to abandon the run. You want to make sure you're giving a heavy dose of Gibbs and Montgomery. And as long as they do a 50-50 split with the run game with Gibbs and Montgomery and going to Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff and the Goffense should be able to win this game. Ravens need a turnover desperately, a fumble or a pick. That might be the only thing that saves them in this game, unless they can get a 3 and out here. First run, 5-yard gain there by Jahmyr Gibbs. Second down and 5 at the 40. Less than 9 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter. 28-24 Lions. First 2 weeks, 111.5 yard average. Today, 174. So the Ravens defense, obviously not very good, defending through the air and especially on the ground. They're on pace to give up over 200 yards. Play action fake. Goff. Oh, through his hands and complete. Nate Wiggins, the target. Why would you go to Wiggins right there? Why would you go there? Why are you throwing towards Wiggins? Don't throw towards him. You should be throwing towards Laporta, Williams, Amon-Ra, not one of your random guys. Third down and 5. And timeout is called. And now you got to make sure that you, get your playmakers the ball here. Someone that you trust. So I would assume Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown will, more than likely be the guys, unless they go to Gibbs in the passing game. Aaron Jones and James Conner, yeah. That's tough. I actually decided to take a year off of fantasy for the first time in 15 to 20 years, and I feel great, man. I feel like a vacation, refreshed, because, I always usually finish in the top 3, but I put in 5 hours a day. I'm looking at the wire. I'm spying on everyone's team. I'm making 200 moves every year, and to not have to worry about it and just focus on the Buccaneers, it's actually been kind of refreshing. Obviously I have to focus on the Ducks and the Mariners as well, but takes a lot of energy and effort to win in fantasy. Chief in the building. What's good, brother? We got a great game here between the Lions and the Ravens. Third down and 5. Goff. Pressure on the edge. Starts to run. Why don't you run? Dumb decision there by Goff. If Goff runs, he probably gets the first down, and then he decides to throw the last minute incomplete, and the Ravens end up forcing the punt. Huge. Ravens will have a chance now. That game against the Giants wasn't the prettiest, but at least you ended up getting the dub, and that's all that matters, Chief. Hope that you're doing well. But Mariners are going to the playoffs. The Ducks are undefeated. Buccaneers are undefeated. We're going for the NFC South crown, and we're also going for the NFC South crown. The South, and the NFC overall, baby. Yeah, life is good right now, man. Baker Mayfield is MVP candidate. Ducks are undefeated, and they might lose to Penn State, but that's a tough game, on the road. All my teams are doing well, so, I can't complain. How about you? How's life going for you? You got the Bills, obviously, doing big things. The Colts, the Chargers. So it looks like the Colts, are going to be front runners to win the South. Jags will have something to say about that as the season goes on. Chargers look like the best team in the West. And again, Denver could have won that game yesterday, but again, the Chargers, they lost Najee, so that's huge, and now they only have Omari and Hampton, so we'll see where that goes. But it'll be competitive in the AFC, but you're starting to see some new teams emerge, which is always cool. And then the NFC, obviously, Eagles are obviously the main front runner, but Buccaneers play them this weekend, and we're at home. We have played them well over the last few years. If there's a kryptonite to the Eagles, it's the Bucs. So hopefully we can beat them and go 4-0, and we'll see what happens with the Rams and the Seahawks in the NFC West. And obviously the Commanders should be in the mix for a wild card, maybe with the Seahawks. And Packers and Lions both will make the playoffs this year more than likely. So we'll see kind of how the season goes. Yeah, I hear you, bro. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train. We are at 1090 to go, and we're trying to gain 5 to 15 subs, and we just hit 22,100. Awesome. Next goal, 22,200. Yeah. Well, obviously you wanted the Chargers to lose so that they wouldn't go 3-0, right? You want everyone to kind of beat each other up so that you can catch up in the division. So I totally understand where you're coming from. My best friend is a Bronco fan too. He's a Mariner fan, a Blazer fan, a Duck fan, and we share all the same favorite teams except, Bucks for me, Broncos for him. And I told him that game was going to be tough. And, they kind of blew it at the end. But again, the Chargers seemed like kind of a rejuvenated team with Harbaugh, and actually getting Omari and Hampton in the draft was huge for them. So. Hand off to Henry. Uh-oh! Big fumble. Grab it. Oh! No way! No way! Lions with the fumble recovery. They punched it out on King Henry, and Henry has had a problem hanging on to the football late in games, and he does it again. Oh, my. And that's the first turnover that we have actually witnessed here, and that's going to lead to a Lion touchdown. Uh-oh. Bye-bye, Ravens, unless you get incredibly lucky here. Now you need to get a fumble or a pick. But Aiden Hutchinson says, hey, let me punch this out like Charles Peanut Tillman, and he does. Wow. Unbelievable. Big play. Henry, you got to be more aware. And the Lions have looked like more of the desperate team out of the two. And there goes Derrick Henry's helmet. You might have just lost the game for your team. And you might be one of the best running backs in the NFL, but you can't be fumbling the ball late. Here we go, handoff. Montgomery, 3-yard gain. 2nd down and 7 here on the Baltimore 13. Tick, 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 tick. And he had a week 1 fumble against the Buffalo Bills, and almost identical. Ripped it out, and this time punched it out. Oh, sorry, brother. You had Derrick Henry? That stinks. I'm not doing fantasy for the first time in 15 to 20 years, and I feel refreshed. Fuck, I might never do fantasy ever again if I feel like this. Montgomery, first down, Lions. But there's a penalty on the play. Uh-oh, that's coming back. Face mask. Wow, the Ravens really lucked out there. Are you kidding me? How the fuck are you going to get a face mask on the offense? What the fuck? 3rd down and 21 now. Wow. Gibbs with a 1-yard gain. Man, Ravens stepping up here. And if you're the Lions, kick the fucking field goal. First and goal on the 5 turns into 3rd and 21 at the Baltimore 27. How things can change so quickly. Yeah. Well, especially, if you spend hours on end like I typically do. So, I feel kind of refreshed not doing it. I don't have to worry about guys, going on to fucking IR and, stressing out and shit. So, I might not do it ever again. I might do a league for the channel, but I might just be like the commissioner, but not participate. Third and 21, pass incomplete. 4th and 21 at the Baltimore 27. Kick the field goal. And then if you do that, you're still up 7. And kick is up and good. 31-24. Bates with the field goal. Now they're up by 7. Now at least Lamar's got a chance. And now you have to assume they're probably not going to go to Henry that much after the fumble. So it's going to be a lot of Zay Flowers, a lot of Rashad Bateman, a lot of DeAndre Hopkins, and obviously Mark Andrews and Kolar. So not to say that Derrick Henry is not going to touch the ball. I mean, he's going to have to at least once, on this drive, you would assume, unless they just say, fuck it and go Justice Hill instead. But maybe they'll go back to Henry and he'll redeem himself and get in the end zone. All right, I'm going to go grab a water here since I already fucking just slammed that water. All right, 6:35 to go in the fourth. All right. All right, got my water, got my laundry. Ravens down by 7 with 6:35 to go. Let's go. Jets, Dolphins. Golly, that's terrible. All right, here we go. 31-24 Lions. Bates kicked off, 55 yards. Ali with a return of 21 yards. Now it's first down and 10 at the Baltimore 31. One of these two teams is going to drop to 1-2, but they're both playoff teams. There's no doubt about that. The Lions or the Packers will win the division, and we would assume even if the Ravens lose this game, they're still going to win the division more than likely. You would assume. Again, the coaching and the play calling have been very suspect. I mean, Harbaugh's lost, more games for the Ravens than any coach on any squad in the last couple of years. They just need to clean that up. Be smarter with the play calling. If the field goal is there, take it. Lions defense is looking very sharp here in the second half. First down and 10. Shotgun set for Lamar. Lions bringing pressure off the edge. And, it's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Big sack lunch by Aiden Hutchinson. And again, obviously missing him was a big, big factor for the Lions. And he is back. Hashtag one pride. Look at this inside move by Hutch. Beautiful. Ravens offensive line has no answer. Second down and 16. Shotgun set. Lamar looking. Check down. And Justice Hill slips and gets gang tackled by 3 Lions. 3-yard gain. 4-yard gain. Third down and 12. Ravens are in trouble. Shows you how important a good offensive line is. If you don't have a good offensive line, it doesn't matter that you got Lamar, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, DeAndre Hopkins, because you can't get them the fucking ball. Third down and 12, shotgun set, pressure off the edge, Lamar, and getting caught from behind. And now they're going to have to punt. This one might be over. Ravens are going to need a miracle. They're going to need a 3 and out or a fumble or a pick. Punt goes out of bounds. First down and 10 at the Detroit 30. Lions with a 7-point lead with 4:24 to go. And again, last time that these two teams played in Baltimore, the Lions lost like 33-6. So they're definitely wanting revenge and payback, and they're 4 minutes and 24 seconds away from getting it. And you assume they're going to start bleeding the clock here. .424 left, 31-24, Lions. Lamar is frustrated on the sideline, but the offensive line isn't doing a good job for them. First down and 10, handoff. Gibbs down the sideline. Nice run. Nice gain on first down there. Ravens are in trouble. Second down and 3. And if it's going to be second and short, this is going to be fucking game over in a couple plays. If you can't stop the run, you're not going to win, period. Second down and 3, handoff. First down, Lions, move the chains. I mean, Ravens still have 3 timeouts, but it's not looking good for them. And especially when you go against Gibbs and Montgomery, I mean, you better have a great D-line, and if you don't, you're fucked. And again, the offensive line has let them down, the Ravens, as well as the defensive line. You know, the Lions look like more focused and obviously a smarter team based off play calling. And the Ravens had a chance to kick a field goal in the first half, and they decided to go for it, and they got skunked. Handoff again. Short gain. Tick, 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 tick. Second down and 8. I don't know. I don't know if I would agree with that. He does have the it factor, but again, his offensive line and defensive line don't do him any, really help. You know, it's like you got to be able to have a good offensive line to, and again, you got the coach that blows more games than any coach in the last 2 to 3 years in Harbaugh with the OC. So it's like I feel coaching, and the offensive line have been the Ravens' biggest bugaboos, and if those were cleaned up, then they would be better. But I do think Lamar is a good quarterback. But again, if you don't have a good offensive line, what are you going to do? Third down. You can't put all the blame on Lamar. I mean, again, it's like you got Lamar, you got King Henry, you got Zay Flowers, you got Mark Andrews, you got Rashard Bateman, you got DeAndre Hopkins. But if your O-line stinks, you have no time to go to those guys. And again, the offensive line has been terrible today. And obviously Hutchinson and a lot of the Lions defensive players have stepped up. But, you're nothing without an offensive line. You have to have one. All you have is sexy skill position players that can't get the ball. And a little check down there, short of the marker, 4th down and 2, and the 2-minute warning has just passed. 1:56 left in the 4th. And is Detroit, where's the ball at? The 49. Does Detroit say fuck it and just go for it right here and win the game? Or do they play it smart and punt it and give the Ravens one more chance and pin them back? The Lions have also scored on a 98-yard drive and a 96-yard drive. So the Ravens don't deserve to win this game. If you're actually looking at, how the Lions have come into Baltimore and pushed them around. So defense has been better for the Lions. I mean, I know it's 31-24. Both defenses have looked not the greatest, but the Lions are the better team at this point today. So. And I would not be shocked if the Lions win the division. The Packers looked great beating the Lions early in the season, but they just lost to the fucking Browns. So again, you can look great one week, against a rival, and then all of a sudden, Packers beat the Lions. Oh, the Packers are undefeated, and they're gonna be the best team in the NFL, even better than the Bucs and the Eagles. And then you fucking lose to the Browns. So you have to take it week in and week out. So we will see how it all plays out. But one thing I do know, Eagles are going to make the playoffs. The Bucs are going to make the playoffs. Packers and Lions are going to make the playoffs. Rams are making the playoffs. And then the question mark is, who else is making it? The Commanders, the Seahawks, someone else? We'll have to wait and see. And then on the AFC side, the Bills, you assume the Ravens are going to make it as long as they don't keep fucking collapsing, with their offensive line and their defense. Colts are going to make it. Chargers are going to make it. And then who else, is going to get in? We will have to wait and see. If the Lions go for it and get the first down, the game's over. But again, the ball's on the 49. If you go for it and you don't get it, then, Lamar only has to get 50 yards. And then the game could go into overtime and you could lose. So, the smart thing to do is to punt it, and rely on your defense, and the gutsy kind of selfish thing to do is to go for it here, but again, it all depends. We know Dan Campbell loves to go for it, but, we'll see what happens here. And big pass. Oh, Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown. They go for it, and the game is over. Wow. And that's how the Lions do sometimes. I mean, the defense has been good enough to stop the Ravens, but they said, fuck it. We're not even going to give you a chance. We're just going to fucking rip your heart out. And that is it. Game over. Wow. Big play. And again, that's Dan Campbell for you, doing the Chip Kelly, type of play calling. He's got balls. I mean, it's on the 49, 50-yard line. But again, Amon-Ra St. Brown is a G. Look at that. Over-the-shoulder catch. Beautiful. I mean, there's only one guy that would do that, and it's Dan Campbell, and he's got a reputation of being like Chip Kelly, but we got a flag on the play. Who's it on? Oh, it's on Humphrey. Game over. Wow. Wow. But again, it really depends on where the ball is. If the ball was further back, then maybe a punt. But in that situation, 9 times out of 10, a coach punts. Because, if you don't get it, right, then the other team gets it at the 50, and then Lamar only needs a couple first downs, and they're in the end zone. And then if it goes to overtime, maybe you lose. But Dan Campbell's whatever, I don't care. I'm going to go for it. And that was a big, big win for the NFC and a big win for the Lions. And again, I can't think of a team that has shittier coaching. And I think Harbaugh's a decent coach. He's a pretty good coach, but he's got more losses out of any big-time coach than anybody in the NFL. Touchdown, David Montgomery. This one's over. Wow. In a game that could have been won by the Ravens, but it shows you If you don't have an offensive line and you don't have a defense, you don't stand a chance. And there it is. And again, the Ravens are never going to beat the Bills. Hell, they might not even be able to beat the Colts or the Chargers in the playoffs if they play like this. And I know Lamar's great. King Henry's great. He's got a fumbling problem, and the Bills and in this game, right? And again, you got Zay Flowers, you got Rashad Bateman, you got DeAndre Hopkins. But if your defense stinks and your offensive line stinks, it doesn't matter. All you have is sexy pieces at your skill position players that can't do anything when it matters the most. And Ravens choke another one away. The Lions show that one pride is still in the building. And they get revenge for that 33-6 loss 2 years ago, obviously on the road in Baltimore. They get revenge. Wow. Extra point is up and good. Embarrassing if you're Baltimore. And, again, you had a hard time beating the Bills and the Chiefs. Now the Chiefs aren't as good as they used to be. But, again, now you got the Chargers and the Colts and a few other teams to worry about. This might be the year for the Buffalo Bills making the Super Bowl. But who will they play? The Eagles or someone else? We will find out. Never underestimate the NFC. They have the smarter teams, in that division. Wow. Huge statement win. We got 1:42 to go. And now you're down by 14. You're not coming back. No problem. I got you. And we'll be doing Mariners and Rockies at 6:40 Pacific. Obviously on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at home. And then on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Mariners versus Dodgers for the last 3 games of the season. We'll do coverage of the Huskies and the Buckeyes, Ducks and Penn State while we do the Mariners streams. And we got, obviously, the Buccaneers play the Eagles 3-0 versus 3-0 this weekend. And I'm really looking forward to that. All right, Lions with the kickoff. And that's a knee. Baltimore at the 35-yard line. Three, 9, 12, and 15. That's a hell of a way to improve your team. Dan Campbell is the truth. I do think Tampa can make the NFC Championship game. I would assume it'll be Eagles and Tampa. I mean, unless there's injuries. Again, I think the Packers and the Lions are great. I think the Rams could, be pretty good as well. They blew that game, obviously, to the Eagles. But, Bills and who? And, Eagles and Bucks. That could happen. And if there is a kryptonite for the Eagles, it's the Buccaneers. We have a very good record against them lately. So I'm not saying that we're going to the Super Bowl this year, but Bucks-Bills would be fun. And obviously Eagles-Bills would be sexy too, obviously. But I know some people would, want to see someone other than the Eagles since they already won it, unless you're an Eagle fan. But we will see how it all plays out. I mean, we lost 3 of our starting 5 offensive linemen, and we're 3-0. So we'll see how it plays out. Second down and 10 after that incomplete pass by Lamar. Pressure up the middle. God, that offensive line for Baltimore is terrible. Oh, it's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Another sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Terrible offensive line for Baltimore. And Zalone in there. 7 sacks for Detroit, 0 for Baltimore. That's the fucking question. And that's the fucking answer. Jesus Christ. Seven sacks for the Detroit defense on the road. Baltimore, 0. Third and 26. Lamar. Check down. Oh, how did he get out of that? And down the sideline, 37 yards. First down, Ravens. A little bit of life here for the Ravens. 51 seconds left. First down and 10 at the Detroit 30. After that Bateman catch here, 14 yards. Arnold with the tackle. 14-yard pass from Lamar to Bateman. First down and 10 at the Detroit 30 with 46 seconds left. No problem. Appreciate you. Looking forward to tomorrow. Yeah, our defense still is weak. I'll admit to that. Our offensive line is injured. Evans got, looked like a little hammy, that has been bothering him the last few years. I mean, I trust Vita Vea. I trust Levante David. I trust Antoine Winfield Jr., but other than that, everyone else is kind of a crapshoot. I mean, I like Zion McCollum. Jamel Dean had a pick six, but I mean, the defense is the weak link as well as the offensive line for the Bucs. So, and injuries as well. So hopefully we haven't had Wirfs or Godwin all year, and we're 3-0. And hopefully they come back versus the Eagles to help us beat them. But it'll be hard. But the one thing we have going for us, we're at home. So I think we actually have a good chance of beating Philly, and they're a tough team to beat. You have to give them the credit, that they're probably the number one team in the NFC right now until we beat them, if we beat them. So. Fuck, man, Mets, one of the best teams in the first half of the season, going like 45-24, and then having a horrible second half, and on the cusp of losing, the playoff berth. The Reds might get the last spot, so kind of heartbreaking if you're a Met fan, because they were so good with Soto and Lindor early, and they had an epic collapse after the All-Star break, and it sucks when that happens. Nice, congratulations on your prize picks. Second down and 7. Shotgun set for Lamar. Floater. Oh, he's open. Mark Andrews. Touchdown, Ravens. And if you got Mark Andrews in fantasy or Lamar, there's some extra points for you. Blown coverage there by the Lions. They were going all out with the blitz, and it finally came back to bite them. Nice catch by Mark Andrews. And now the Ravens will go for an onside kick. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, I expect that, with all our injuries and our O-line, 3 of the 5 starters out, but Wirfs might come back. Godwin might be there, but he might not be. And then the defense as a liability besides, I got 3 guys out of 11 I trust on D. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. 2-point conversion, almost intercepted. And that goes down. But again, I've seen a lot of Eagle fans on social media who typically are very confident and very, passionate. Normally it's like, go Eagles, go Birds. No one's going to beat us. But I've seen a lot of Eagle fans on social media that actually are giving the Bucs credit. And they're like, yeah, they have actually beaten us, the last few years. So, which is kind of refreshing because you normally don't hear Eagle fans giving credit to another team, even if they believe it. They just kind of keep it to themselves and whatnot. But I'm really looking forward to a good game. And if we lose, GG, good game, but I'm really hoping that we can keep it close and maybe we'll have a chance to win. Baker has been amazing this year for us. So, and incomplete on the 2-point conversion. And now the Ravens will have to go for an onside kick, down by 8. And again, the Rams should have won that game, but they blew, obviously, that big lead, and you got to give the Eagles credit. And then to block a field goal to win the game on the last play of the game, that takes a lot of guts, a lot of heart. And again, Philly still has to be the favorite in the NFC, and the Bills have to be the favorite in the AFC. But I do believe the Bucs are going to be, one of the best. If we have to be second to the Eagles, I'm okay with that. And it's, I know the Eagles are the top dog. Bucs are good. Packers and Lions should be in the mix. Rams and Seahawks as well. But we'll see how it all plays out, not only this weekend, but the rest of the year. 29 seconds left. Onside kick incoming here. Hard to get onside kicks in the NFL nowadays. It's not, easy. I mean, if you did it like 100 times, you might get it once or twice. It's not something that's easy to do. Oh, good kick. Wow. And Laporta gets it, but that had the perfect bounce that if they had a Raven player there, but great job by the kicker there, but now it's over. And Goff kneels it there. 38-30 final. Wow. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it as well. And, hopefully it'll be a hard-fought game. It'll be too bad that game isn't Monday Night Football. Eagles and Bucks both 3-0. That would be like must-see TV. And it's going to be one of the best games of the year, we assume. So congratulations, Lions fans. You did it. Final score, Detroit 38, Ravens 30. And again, I'm going to be live tomorrow for the Mariners and the Rockies at 6:40 Pacific. Shout out to all the people that donated, commented, shared. I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys. And again, final score, Lions 38, Ravens 30. And I got one question for you. We go talk sports like us. Your boy Orion, Northwest Sports Fanatics, and I'm out. Okay.